Mami nua bema Ivan Kyei innocent akwaba bokwa de eja ye hia na se di ko weekend na se na wotwe mu nyina nsem a di atentwie eno na eja ye be hia na ye di ho enkommo akwasai
oh nyame adom ahode ho we say the most important thing is your kwa ntino
yeah
the rest
sure.
Yeah.
Eda nyame ase ena ye topics ya discuss me miensa me pacho de di kan me shada na mani ka mo amane bi kwa na minim se ye na de atoni January because any na me mami nua bema Ivan Kyei innocent akwaba bokwa de eja ye hia na se di ko weekend na se na wotwe mu nyina nsem a di atentwie eno na eja ye be hia na ye di ho enkommo akwasai
oh nyame adom ahode ho we say the most important thing is your kwa ntino
yeah
the rest
sure.
Yeah.
Eda nyame ase ena ye topics ya discuss me miensa me pacho de di kan me shada na mani ka mo amane bi kwa na minim say ye main topic I be discuss nti na enu kwan say me touch on it no and it's a chief justice former chief justice Mami Gertrude is about tokunu wa choka atade akopiem wo high court to say say Prez Mahama any committee no report no kire say oyenyini free as chief justice ne dibre kura no as supreme court judge ne de on ti ase say wo say no so ye jeka ho nti wo challenge eno e wo court say process no na ni nheda enye ho nti eno enwa asem no nti be ba cho innocent ye aba no wi na de attorney general because any nyina ye law no na de age de na okeka na adwen kire Ghana Bar Association no ato aso
ya ma mencha na mencha watie for na menka se onse growing up no na akra bia we akra wadwen se panyin bia nim nyansa until say obenyina do level bia won so be hase a process nema put things together na be say san panyin bia na nim nyansa asada akra o nim nyansa onwu onkra brem no onyini be ye panyini. And it's the same thing. Sana first, not in China, you have no understanding about legal issues. No, be kana obite TV, so na radio. So sabi okay, can kwasa some crowd. Why do you say sabi okay Kenyans some? Because some na okay no won't hear yet.
Yeah.
But now you Kenya me say a man for it me really wide.
Sure.
They subject issues to critical scrutiny. Fault then you fault cry now. Once you have your friend says sense then you can analyze and look at certain things. Anything and there who say Ghana for not do na venture into some of these areas otherwise they wouldn't go because people anya uncertain understanding and more that are to probe into some of the issues like this.
Yeah.
This chief justice issue, I think say what in China would see say the sikwa ne anya de oye no na sabi ebumabam na mum I give credence to the fact say in some Ghana for eka over the years say your judiciary no aye staffy and there are a lot of chaff aye pia kwa gugum no aye no kre. Because some of the arguments now especially with this new way, clearly means that this is absolute nonsense and very childish in whichever sense that you want to say it.
Yeah.
First of all, or say relief now or seek, for the want of jurisdiction, or say president committee now or set it up, say tenancy committee was not properly constituted.
Yeah.
And this Awokasa was not properly constituted under Article 146. Clearly, Constitution outline the individuals as a panel and two Supreme Court judges.
Yeah.
And the President Mahama committee, 2 Supreme Court judges and and other people Nina was in line with the Constitution. So the mere fact that you have issues with the individuals in your twisted mind, you think they are not neutral, whatever. That's a different thing. But the fact is that to argue legally, say it was not properly constituted, on what basis in the law, and our said they were not legally constituted, and now 2 Supreme Court judges, or Supreme Court judges, other person or a lawyer and on your lawyer, and 2 Ghanaians, or Togolese, and we Japanese. These are some of the arguments when you are able to ground your argument on some of these things, then people will say you are making sense. But my culture said from day one, why supposed to advertising and what say, Lord, and I'm making me nim kind of us and no the sort of understanding now about the law it's totally different and very shocking because my culture This is a chief justice or the administrative head of the judiciary. Otiminya kukudro fa pen ni paper. Ede court to say a constitutional provision your constitution my say proceedings of this nature should not be shown on TV but rather should be held in camera. She had the infantry to saying right to court to say young vary that particular constitutional provision na you know with TV so no Ghana for but you need to look at the reasoning behind it. This is a chief justice who understands that this is an explicit constitutional provision and no court has the power to vary it. But for her to make a case that you change, we are Ghana near, you should be worried. And again, and she's saying say as a chief justice now as a Supreme Court judge. This is absolute nonsense. And you see, and I make us say case bia mami we yatena so bia no. The new chief justice should be petitioned. Now, open those cases, because if this mindset and all the thing who did this same way, clearly just something untoward might have occasioned somewhere. But because the reasoning and understanding of the law, no, is somewhere weird. Because you are chief justice, is premised on the facts that we are your friends justices of the Supreme Court. So when you become your friends a chief justice, you are an S official, because you cannot be a chief justice without being your friends saying justice of the Supreme Court, of the Supreme Court. So once you're a chief justice playing an administrative role, you are an S official, meaning your position as a chief justice is tied to the fact that we are your friend
Supreme Court
judge. And here is the case. You have been flagged, you are incompetent legally because the constitutional process has been set in motion, and you have been flagged as an incompetent person, or flouted law. So and some of these things have to do with character. And as a whoopee baby, you be here so obi you bet discharge uttermost of integrity and the character. It is not the chief justice, it is the judge as a Supreme Court judge. As I don't know whether you get it. So if the whole argument is what from and you are now a disgraced chief, a disgraced chief justice. You have been flagged. So what bumra, one famra nyaduma, what the open away, and you as a chief justice. It means that integrity is battered. And if there is an institution where absolute integrity is required to engineer its activities, it is the justice of the Supreme Court. So once you've been removed as a chief justice, there is no way that no sensible person can make any argument to say you can come back as what? As a
Supreme Court judge.
Because you are a disgraced person, you be a good and you must catch us. I won't farm right now. And why and the Supreme Court, I'm about telling him say dinasa mano. This thing is common sense. And sometimes you listen to people trying to make argument for some of these. I say sometimes you see, just use common sense, reasonable. If you try to be reasonable, you know that some of these things are highly untenable. Because. For instance, my more example, Oko teaching hospital, very often the doctors and your friend is saying CEOs. So wako a particular hospital, Oko no CEO at Akwachi or Bash and office, our officer, or Bano for Sono, Yatsano as a CEO. Or yes, I did because or in the power as a CEO, no way or take advantage in a Yatsano. Some person I yachina say, Yashan send me on to be the CEO of the hospital. Now, obey by a doctor, our hospital. Because assembly has to do with moral character, what display actually say, with integrity. Go to your judicial, your friends say all the regulations, in absolute and in no uncertain terms. So when you're judge, you must espouse integrity. You must advertise integrity. You must live integrity at its uttermost. This is somebody who has been seen and who has been flagged. And a constitutional provision, and as a constitutional provision has been activated. And now you have become a disgraced chief justice in Aminu. You become a disgraced officer. Such an officer, you argue with say, Yamfa back, now do you think any serious person will even ever respect the judiciary ever again? Because putting somebody who has been flagged as an incompetent person. So some of these arguments, then I don't know, baby, the law. Now I don't know the kind of interpretation sometimes, and I will be surprised obi so na senachi and our man yes anema we ya or somebody should whisper to her say ogun anima say. And you see years of dedication there was serving in an argument now or making or subjecting who to public mockery. Because don't you ever think say what are we Chief Justice? You are an embodiment of the law. You understand it and nobody should speak. No. There are other areas that people can just subject it to critical scrutiny and begin to ask questions. Your understanding of the law is flawed. Yeah. And then that brings back to question. And some of it, what's not to be seen there? So, anyway, and all the tenants, so it's problematic. You understand? That is why I am calling your friends the new the Chief Justice said every single case we are talking about tenants will be they all should give us a reason to go back and probe into some of this, because this thinking and this reasoning, should never be allowed to come anywhere close to be sitting at the Supreme Court bench or the DSM. So I think it's very embarrassing watching all this. Then coming to the first the last time I said we started here, the very moment the petition was submitted, the President Kasi me established a credence, and I told you on point blank there is no going back. This woman, whatever way be, because you see at the Supreme Court, I think because I don't know we are so special. Nipa to me change the future. Yeah. There's the only institution ever to me to take your life. Yeah. Or make me say yenkoku. Nansana ya say yamrani ya shisana kakra. But this is the only institution that can withdraw your right to life. So it is such a sensitive institution. Say we are judge now anymore. You must discharge integrity. People have, even though we are nipa there, but you must endeavor, try your best to ensure say you will not. You find the shame public confidence in that kind of idea man for war. But so better now argument I will make it, and I say President need to me say obesa cannot and process it's not in line with the dictate of article. Article 146 and be on no version any them already and answer the version my culture said this whole process is not a novelty. I think they see because constitution and mention Chief Justice and mention your friends head of the tribunal whatever and there's some mention of your friends judges at the Supreme Court. It is a categorization and the process now you remove a judge at the Supreme Court win and one you remove Chief Justice. The only difference there is just by name and by identification, and a Chief Justice the only way we are different from a judge on the Supreme Court bench, and say you have been given extra administrative role. Chief Justice no can administrative role. Yeah. And your core function is a judge. Is the reason why I be a Chief Justice sell you are just an S official. A Chief Justice is premised on the fact that you are a judge. And when you're a judge, you cannot
assume that
assume that role. And the flag is we are incompetent. I was say okay, Munji Chief Justice, now we have a sense of shame. No reason will even make this argument. So I think that in some now is a bit twisted. Maybe and American assemble na who answer for maybe nema nkoye and nipa no motwa ne ho ahye omutu no fo no so no they are not giving her wise counsel because this is take here at some point I'm told say or the nkrofo kopa President Mahama Charles so person resign and that you know nam court na say for so clearly say if sansam ne no kra I give you an impression of somebody who is not stable, somebody who is emotionally unstable, and people are just engineer or push you and I'm sure so you see why inspire a lot of people among for and why inspire more. This is not an opportunity to be good anymore because some of the arguments she's making obviously are quite childish and they are irrelevant and good anymore. She's just subjecting herself to public ridicule because there is no court. Let me say there is no court in this land. I look at what Tenasa same way. So I'll bet me arrival at a decision say the woman should go back to the Supreme Court. No court. That court will be the most unreasonable court ever. Because that particular ruling will defy reasoning, it will defy common sense, and it will defy logic. It will never happen. So she should know better and stop all this nonsense. You understand? And rather find a way, if there is a way, accept your fate, you still have life. Now the public service in the Yabamano. And I don't go say already Supreme Court. And now Supreme Court. Yeah, I know among from where by Juma, they've even more stop here, more in their private enterprises, they are doing better. So is she saying that she cannot thrive and answer that because process now President Akwa Wadrudo, it will be very almost impossible for any court to reverse it. Because don't forget that the president just exercised an executive authority. For it to be revoked, no, you will need a mountain of a reason, reasonable, sound, and very logical to be able to cancel it. So the I think that is just politics. Or I needing free space, because they say not here, you see, because of maybe she thought say it was going to trigger a wave of public sentiment among for Bekambiamano. But we say Galamse you should grab a kata. A chose a Ghana for Ghana for are concerned about the sanctity of the institution called the judiciary. They don't care about any individual. And to what's ho Nasa Braba Obonyina egu sa judiciary no hu fia sema obi anka bi ma. Metesa one of MPP boys if you got na TV say NDC for aye. If I Ghana for Adro, now I know one was some Chief Justice among for no, people don't care. Because Abro Moto judicial no brabo bonne ruling a Sabinyan send him no. Ghana for warn them. On social media, young people are out there advocating the need that judiciary will restore its sanity back. People were using it as an instrument of terror. People were using it as an instrument to cow people into subjugation, intimidating people and do a whole lot of nasty stuff. And you think your friends say we're not turning on you. Young people will waste their time because Chief Justice, who cares about you? Understand? So I think that she miscalculated this whole thing. Mr. President Mahama from Emra, I will be the first person to sit here and call him out. And I'm saying, since the activation of this whole process thus far, nobody, and with her surrogate, when the TV so Kenyans assemble, say, oh, Article was breached, Article was breached. Nobody. All that they say, oh, and the floodgate has been opened. A buying for bar, or no super pump Chief Justice, me said that me said we shouldn't change any law because there is no constitution under the sun anywhere in the world. You can check any democracy. I grant absolute tenure to anybody operating under a constitution. Always there is a window for removal. Even the president, who is the most powerful person on this land, can be removed through impeachment by parliament. So we cannot create a shield of a position. The best guarantee I will be media man when they say, oh, they brabo papa. Now I'm making sure that you inspire public confidence, no trust. That tenor safeguarded. But no law, no legislation can safeguard you if you decide to do things. Maybe you could Russia, South Korea, North Korea, other like China, no said you're more democracy, or more dia, and that's a different thing. But in any civilized democratic dispensation, trust me, there is no position that is ironclad. And think I talk about our hands are tied. No, we needed to save the judiciary, and for me, that is it. I mean, I don't know, my catcher President Mahama said, you see, maybe I sanitizing the judiciary, make me focus in near Soha. Say, I come from her, Sabi. Kwasia ruling a man for a man or form hono okay be we at the lower court. Most of them travel to the high court and they quash them. Let us spend time and go to the grounds, the lower court magistrate in as a form
circuit court.
Exactly. Ohana man for agent to man and kokone na se for dem ruling as a binyan sanim obiako we akokone ya jail 30 years in as a form. I think your sentencing regime we need to look at it holistically. Now you make sure say and for the Mrabaya Juma and the process is very transparent. Obia Otikota, all the assembly are not qualified with that integrity and on Nipa what demonstrators or bias. And now quite a high court now. Most of them I could follow staff almost 100 judges before I sign free. And some of these people are party executive, people with non-party ties. Very soon, these people will rise and become Supreme Court judges with their own biases. I know that what will be the future of this judiciary. That is why I am calling on whoever becomes the Chief Justice going forward, to spend the time in not only look at the judiciary, don't sanitize it. Because my culture is one institution we cannot afford to fail. Now, see, the dear grown-ups and near magic and summer. That's a Ghana for sorry. So it's for Mami way there. Everybody should see her as a disgraced Chief Justice who has been sacked. She's no more relevant in the scheme of affairs. Let us forget her. She can go to court. And I'm saying that this particular way, court in about because this thing has no reasonable basis. I will be generous so granting anything. She's frustrated. Unfortunately, she's not heeding to wisdom and wise counsel. And I oh good anima say, Uncle Sungun anima say, no one about to obey. But never oh ye in fact I think Ghana for should focus and ask the president say, dear Abba no beba so no, they're not ye cano. Say yen sanitize your judiciary, no. Chief Justice Corner doesn't mean that we are done. Then my focus is on the lower court. Yeah, you nimbi. Uko lower court. Nema cost no air time. We need to spend time and make sure that we sanitize the judiciary. And for me, that is the most important thing. I know Bia what Chief Justice our arrogance and then she's fighting her way back to come and sit on what bench. And I always say the impunity in the Supreme Court bench. So I think she should give us a break.
All right, for age the so Kofi Simon someone should tell Mr. Siedunketia to stop the thank you to. They ask for Chief Justice, leave her alone. She has no case. She is abusing the affirmative action as a woman. Oh, please tell Prez Mahama for me that if pre-bargaining is a plea bargaining, PLE, is favor NPP and NDC criminal, then it must favor the phone stealers, plantain, goat stealers, and food items because they are also Ghanaian. I think I agree with you. If one person or movement your corner there, and then we are met you number jame. I don't know what I'm doing too. I think you are making a lot of sense. And see if I age the
me side me no back on my age abaso back so obesia I go day in top. Yes, the courage to confront the fence of the Ghana Bar Association. Many people think that these are a esteemed group of lawyers. They should be the moral compass of the legal fraternity in this country. You may have your partisan alliances and biases, but in the discharge of your role as a moral compass of an entity, regulating the legal fraternity in this country, you must discharge that way, a partisan, neutral, and gender trust public confidence. Somebody among Phoebe who said this is a body to the idea on Ghana for. But in recent times, the Ghana Bar Association has gained notoriety for being dangerously partisan biased. And the biases are quite obvious. And for me, nobody has been able to call them out. Yes, some of us have been sitting here and be calling them, say, such biases, sometimes are quite nauseating. You understand? You may have your political affiliation, affinity, or whatever. But don't use the institution or the agency and as a group now to be fronting your weird views about any other political party. When this whole Chief Justice thing started, we had them making some unwitty noise and some unwitty criticisms. I know they could not even ground their criticism on anything in law. It was just mere emotional fanning. And I know more I know that they Ghana for Basio, they couldn't even come back again. And the Basana, it means that you as an institution, you have no credibility. Because if you start a fight, now we're more grounds, now some hetewa. You will have to prepare and come back again. They went back. Since then, it means that it is some sort of an agenda group. A pressure group of a political party. And it's not supposed to be so. Because in some Chief Justice, they almost sorry. And now William Fisher, there are people who almost suffer the wrath of Article 146 in this country. Mekaya, Shroud Boss, went through the same process. Charlotte said, now, Kuma, or Ansana MPP Baba Court, or Baba Power, no, or what in the court, Emma, back and forth, or by no. So President Mahama, they said, no, council, sanitize your the judiciary. This is a people, what time not in the court and in the chair, Electoral Commission MPP, Kuma say. Abu Ramadan and as a forum. Issues a contentious issue. They went ahead, found reason to remove that particular woman. Ghana Bar Association never uttered a word. Kroma say President Akufo-Addo Abra announced an investigation of 4 judges na Ghana Bar Association no more to China and no more Togo. They never issued a statement, you understand? And President Mahama, yes, you have every right if something goes wrong. But there hasn't been any constitutional infraction thus far. And if you are crying foul, the question is, what is the basis? Ebasa, you may be doing it with a good of intention, but people will see you say, oh, omo a group of we omo advocating for a political party. And for me, that professional group, should not be doing that. And that is the worry. And I'm omo kasa na Ghana for you omo I. Hope I'll go and look at any news item that comes with Ghana Bar Association. Go down and read the comments. Because trust me, sir, kind of way I'm for expecting any hobium. And when your group now I'm for respecting you are dead. And that is what this particular institution is paling into insignificance if they don't know. Because all TV and I've listened to a lot of good lawyers in this country who have tend to even criticize them, say it's some kind of a saboteur group, some individuals who are fronting on the area political agenda. Because say Yatsna Kroma Ghana for a man for human rights, ya Owusu, yachi a man for yakot abdati a man for home. Bongo ideas, I crack it out in the field, yakofana na jo. Mami airport campaign in us for what is a Ghana Bar Association can say Mrabi obi tete amrasoa. Now what transika wa no pardonas and near who way in our now all of a sudden you turn around that. And now we emphasize Kufuado etisano or mood distance Mudina Ghana for cancer say and Mrabi ba that's a man for Sas or more Kasa. They will remind them. And here we are. And to be a sabi wouldn't answer crown and some because of some of these things, you even be careful how to navigate. But Anam said that biases are quite obvious, they can't even hide it. So I think we see some of these things and it's the reason why they've lost credibility. Nobody even take them serious. Even there are lawyers who are part of them, they don't even regard them anymore. You understand? And so much with sober reflection, they will know they've lost their essence, and that there is the need for them to also undergo that plastic surgery now to recapture their old glory. Because now man for GD or Ghana Bar Association as but I know it is a political movement and nobody takes it serious anymore. And then on the side of the plea bargaining, you see, we cannot be sitting here and be hiding behind constitutional phrases, jargons, and those kind of nonsense just to buy people way out. You see, Adeba Ghana for Gina somebody to Obama Prez Mahama pa say, hold these criminals accountable.
Exactly.
That term is non-negotiable. That is what people are looking at. People want justice because we feel some individuals being to me. And by the virtue of the fact of Munya to me, we are Ghana for ball, Ghana for chrono, and we are not going to sit down for that particular thing to continue. And the only way to stop it under this Prez Mahama administration is to by punishing those who stole in the past. And you need to show your friends a readiness. You need to show certain combativeness, certain your friends a willingness. Be a man for who say we are really serious. Yes, plea bargain. Maybe people don't know. You see. This whole concept of plea bargain, emerged somewhere in the 19th century in America. And the reason was quite just simple, America, those in the 19th century, before it became institutionalized in common law jurisdiction, America started first. Now, they did now, cases in the door to because na crime was on the industrial way, na crimes cost to be pre, defendant and prosecutor tell us and send me doors until the more to say before no more now you pay and samamra. Then they started negotiating with the offense the guilty plea for now say we are you ready to bring it me the beba na ya ma bia 1 year kwadam na say be ya pressure na case load na wo ho no ye be free na judges le benya omuwe. When they started in America, one thing and very common is it undermines justice. Because the whole essence of this criminal justice system is to make sure we get justice. Because we offend we need to make sure we balance the stakes. Nipa na we affected we feel comfortable say yes but they felt na undermine justice. So the argument in the course then it got adopted into common law, your friends jurisdiction. And common law, so you to spread the baby, and the woman. But the core criticism now has never changed. It undermines justice, Yet, Kroma 2022 when they amended a law. And Krofono Mulidi amended law, I had the very people more chance who say, hey, mind they say the real do a level beer. Your coffee, and Yamabakobone. Until let us change the laws. Now, I'm for plea bargaining, no message. Nasi Yakoviania, Quatrafio, Canasi, and Kofo the Bill can. All that you do is yes, and no crime fire. Many will be negotiating. So you see, that particular way now, Attorney General has become so much fixated on it. Or the Trump card or the Nam town was a political card and could not play there at all. So you are just going by their playbook. If you are smart, I don't know whether you get the argument.
I get it.
Because he's the one defending most of these criminals today. And he's the one who led that particular thing because he was the Attorney General and Parliament as a rubber stamp entity. They had it slotted into our law. Yes, it will be good for good reasons, but not when the stakes are high. Highly contentious political issues are. The general public are looking for nothing because Ghana want blood. Yeah. They want to see blood oozing because people have committed atrocities, both economic and political atrocities against this country. And they want to see people bleeding. So you cannot be playing plea bargaining and be using legal jargon. And the history, where it came from, and the major criticism I travel history with, and that criticism has never. The question is, say if it is about caseload, do we have issue with caseload? And I say a caseload, they been a year to mitigate it. My culture say across the regions, court will be. So why can't we even decentralize this court system? Na se nipa na omo wia no ye di obi asem watamale ye di obi de otachima ye di obi de osunya at the same time and say no any resources let us resource the entity just to ensure that the judiciary will have the capacity to be able to do some of these things, because you see we are not in a rigid your friend saying criminal justice system beer. Yes, you are operating a criminal justice system in isolation. We are doing politics and it is governance. So you see, when you stick to law and you forget about the fact that you are governing, you forget about the fact that you are leading people who have genuine sentiment. That's who play by the strict rules of law. Whenever now what disconnected with the people. Whenever now the governance and the political aspect of it, what lose favor with the people and you go down. You understand? So some of these things, are meant for other private way or they can argue, but when you are in part of a government and you are leading your friends at the judiciary, you cannot be playing this plea bargaining card. You need to make sure that at the end of satisfy what the people want. Or Ghana for instance, and you see some of the mistakes a lot of mistakes. But NDC taking over power. When they started, your friends say no case, submission of no case, most of them. I told you that this thing will come back to bite you. The very moment they started cutting people loose, you drench your credibility. So you know that it will not survive our ruling. And let us travel and let it die naturally. And people will not point fingers at you because you cannot be. Your friends are taking your people out of prosecution cases in and expect to be the case. You see, some of this is common sense. If only you are willing. When that thing started, I said, "This we are shooting yourself in the foot." Say and I said, your friends saying, "Why I to force and I say, yeah, you court." Now, I said, "No, what can I say?" Who say, "Nima." Because of say yes, ordinary, that's what you're supposed to do. Exactly. Allow me to go through. Because a normal judicial system, yes, it is good to make that decision, but governance is part of it. Because at the same stage, there will be a repair show. And it's a case, make sure that you speed up the process and let the court pronounce judgment on it and set the people free. You don't cancel cases and expect to say amount for will agree with you when you go after these people. You understand? So I think that these are the mistakes. I know that they are buying at the early stages. And no, you appear a bit compromised. Amount for who will call left and now will call right. Because amount for workers are what starting to for freedom. And then over the prosecuting and then you may even have the will, but people don't even trust you anymore. Especially when you flip in this plea bargaining thing. So I think that the plea bargain, it's not what the people of this country want. They want their money to be recouped, especially where Nipone we are, your friend is saying, phone away. Wako Yusua say Fabra na say obi negotiate na sika no 16%. Even where the person is willing to pay extra, na me call Bank of Ghana na me could we $10,000 and $100,000. Na me di kodibwa.
Now the Kyei investment.
Now 10 years after, now me for 10% extra. You are motivating people to engage in criminality, and all that you have to do is to find good lawyers or make me a delay court case in court. Now we your business. I know that you make money and be able to pay and pay back. I am not sure that this plea bargaining thing is deterrent enough. We need to walk away from it. It is not for the AG to be negotiating for criminals on their behalf or whatever. We need to be very brutal and very ruthless, especially in America and other places. You know, we see no democracy, you know, or more called to a pointer. They've been able to attain economic independence. So in the American, we are not still, the economy will not come down. We are starting from the ground. Try to build the economy. There should be zero incentive or motivation for people to engage in criminal economic crime. We need to make it a very high risk entity people will not like to go into. And the plea bargaining is not something to start with.
Yeah.
I think Nasa existing criminal justice system and make room for say
yeah.
So this thing is not a novelty. The existing criminal justice system now the government opportunity to take the money and at the same time
jail the
person.
Well.
You understand?
Yeah.
So I think what the government will need now is the willingness to go after these people because Ghana for our watch Makatro. So President Mahama top bass in Ghana and ABR. Now or the $100,000 to be account to now 4 years or so. Not just criminals are still masquerading walking on the street of this country. The government will suffer badly, I'm telling you.
All right. My fire last topic, you know. And to us, Mohammed was say I found it so fantastic. Keep the fire burning. Mohammed was say, what is wrong with this former Chief Justice Cry? Was a good submission by Ivan Che Innocent. Stephen Joe or say why is solo please solo back next week. So, wow. All right, strong Ahmed or say he lied to the short memory group that after giving him mandate within 4 months in office, the Galam say will stop. Okay, now what do we see? Lies and thievery everywhere, and these lies are inseparable. All right, NDC and lies are inseparable. All right, okay, so so way in chato, Dr. Baumia, Pacho on behalf of NPP as a political party, and then was say appointees, ministers, Obia, including Onuemu, or my Ghana for Bonnie to was Ghana for say, Yanfa one Bonnie and Chewomo. Oriana, Dr. Richum Gazabram Sro. Oh, power bonnet one for me count. May my education me fix say, one I will say economy into a patchawa, unqua patcho. Now, no see Yana, ya the 10 cents of a duchum swabber. Now can it or no cassins if you are matani woe. One about me, I have banta pen about me, me as well as I had free. And over the 10 cents of a duchum swabber.
I do me, madam, Mr. Uncle Pentecost. Preaching never fataro in Pentecost or Sunday na soon sin is one or na president today. Yeah, bro. Yeah, but I think it's funny. And I'm say there is no modicum of respect I attach it to the politics that we do here.
Yeah.
We think we are still dealing with the gullible folks who know who are more left from their right. Omofri said the people are still submerged in this unwitty, childish politics. Drenched with emotions, that kind of and at any point in time, no, somebody or feels that a politician can take the people for granted, say any nasty stuff and get away with it. Because Dr. Baumia, Abaimu, Nana, failure now all come quite apparent. When the economy got worse, you know, that was the time I apologize to the people of this country.
But I'm not so
even after elections, I told you, sir, they needed to go. How many times I'm on Tranka said they needed to go on their knees and apologize to the people of this country, even on this platform, because you messed the economy up. The people repose trust and confidence in you. You betrayed them. You pretend and say you had all the theories, whatever. At the end of the day, you know, you came in to perceive selfish parochial interest. Every other corruption at taking center stage. You left the economy in a mess, in the tatters. Ghana economy, you know, still grabbing nothing and yet try to put pieces together. And the Nippon apologize on their behalf. President now di a corner in Nankasatifi. Onyanya akukodro makancha Ghana for Munya akukodro na modi to me ma minti me be pamo chow. He still feel comfortable, and I've listened to a lot of people who says, "Oh, Akufo, ya fear Akufo Addo." Say, "Ya na mo be more what damn." You don't even understand governance politics. He said already he's a joker. Maybe I don't know whether he understands. So you see, and Semna, that's the gravity of issues. Among for nam so awo.
Yeah.
Sa DDP I know prominent Ghanaians who mo ebia ya kunafo ebi mo lose mo mama no papa no. Until you think this concept of an apology will bring back the very people they lost.
No.
When you took those reckless economic decisions, you knew at the time say adena wo ye no other means could have been activated to ensure by says but you were not prudent. People were stealing. People were making money. People were packing money. Say men are finance party no. Me to pick up 350 way. Because adwuma be na wo ye ya wutimi to pick up 350 de mo obi. Na so obi na de be chair wa. John Mahama kwaje Ford ba ko pefiri obi ho no. Ye say oye corrupt. Na wa wo ye vice president obi be chaw. Ye fan say pick up makoma ko 350 no wo ye den.
Ford no kwa ba so mbetwi. Pick up the party for the echi. Exactly.
So you and I make say your politics na ye judge to hold them into obia ye de ope. And I think say ye tena say aye strict financial monitoring e wo kroma ahwehwe kwan ya manfo fa so munyo musika sika no ba bia free ba whether it is legitimate or not nipa no tua ho ye fancy tax anase won tua. I am not sure say you see some of these jokers parading na me sika na mayewe because every amount bia you mention bia the financial intelligence unit should be able to track you to know where you are getting that particular money from because obia who seek to go to the higher office you should not be having ties with sources we cannot verify. Who knows if the people financing you are drug barons? Whether they are criminal syndicate. So I know that the Woje power now they are coming to take over, and I know because some of the other jurisdiction drug cartel not to take over because they finance and sponsored most of the candidates. You understand? So I think that Bawumia there he's desperate. Just trying to seek relevance because there is nothing about Ghana for convince we someone to Abamano because the original way now holding in the economy and 8 years we go and demand search Ghana for say one number because economy near the share one sa what is the pansam and there na woko gina so and na Akufo Addo aban ni nyina nkasa so your friend say a very terrible way you to me for campaign and he doesn't have any way be on the campaign. So now he's playing the sympathy card. Let me go and apologize to Ghana for no muhume mobo but my men can't tell us nyema hunu na pa ho so pasa wo ti ase a ko na no ba bi omkoto ewa kwatia. They were telling people so our corner oh mama yense na dimonyam na wuru kwana for so wu na and this for na chain form and odi wu ye. People did not vote for you because of that. What young people want today is development. How their life eco progress because over the years we've been taken for granted. Somebody becomes a politician all of a sudden fabulously rich or sissy mansions now nobody questions anybody. And the young people have come to the realization say we can no longer continue to monetize the political space and make people rich at our expense. When you do like the resources must be discharged in such a way say obia benyabi and to me now kwanya na wunya no abrabo papa be na the boy no
exactly
abrabo na wo bo no did you ever even realize say na wo ye something wrong na and then buy Dr. Bawumia na economy na ya to ne din wesked na se for na on ka ho asem na odi IT achi when you know nothing about technology ne IT ne na se for you don't know anything about it. They ever trash on some na the nam na the kekan and the economy no abandon them. But who say Bawumia na aye no o aye na Wi-Fi. They say on your economy. Yes, Wi-Fi sign as and this is a guy who has distanced himself from the economy and then he's fronting digitalization and IT. Now we are no could be a gate and even nature is not in support of Niema or Moyen. So I think that my major concern is that I'm praying that young people will grow in mind. They become mature in politics. They begin to understand. So you see them through. Because man, it doesn't take a second to see a liar and I will be all kinds of we don't need to take that person serious. And I think that is where we are today. And he's doing all these things when you to be saying all this because politics now has become so cheap. Because in other jurisdictions and they cause respect for the people of this country and the best of can say oh Ghana for me and you let me get out of the race. Now in the future, I will come back again. In America, it happens. It happens most of the time. Joe Biden, abroad, your friend is saying, Abranti, we say, Mr. Abranti, Obama.
Yeah, Obama.
Everyone, you know, at the end of the tenure, now he was the best person to run. But I'm saying at the end of the tenure, near my back, Joe Biden didn't show up. And then the man, your friend said, we're in the Clinton, you don't buy, you know. Oba ya uncle and son after 4 years or prepare on Obama because Abino, you cannot distance yourself from Obama government.
Yeah.
They are course uncle you be in the core
part of it.
And it's fresh on the minds of the people. They are angry. So they don't want to see you. So you cannot distance yourself from the president and say the media when they were doing it. No. That means you are a coward. Because me, I want to take responsibility for whatever that I do. I will not run away. Tell people, yes, we meant good, but it didn't turn out well. We apologize. We are going to sit back. By now, shifting blame, and then cry is so funny. And other people are also, and people now not to tap on some you know. So I think that let's continue to engage Ghanaians. Say Ghana for anything. Na omu ete politics ase near emotions and I'm ya santini na me ya when any answer hununu from adwenim and they begin to premise their reason for voting on something reasonable. I'm sure that a lot of these people will pale into irrelevant because my culture political stage near cheap you know, and a lot of people have taken over the stage wearing expensive clothes but very cheap in mind. At a run say no boy heading but I did that team very cheap. Your friend saying at the self force was no I've been in ordinam. And these people should not be given the opportunity to come close anywhere to governance. And also in recent times. So I think let us attach seriousness to governance. Now you're making sure that but yet the other be boy president oh god damn I said the kind of president and your fans say Elon Musk na for the rule America
all right, thank you very much Richard Akwe say iron lady
as a chief justice there and they bet me you as a Supreme Court judge they be as a Supreme Court judges ye be da e wo Ghana hard na presidents ben and na da ho Ivan my uncle ebro
Alaska the dika ma cha da mencha watie for na menka say Alaska dey cost you na yes Ghana ni bia will right say at any point in time ade bi nkoye na we are dissatisfied and intina ye nyina ya fight for democracy your democratic institutions menu nya asema mentwe se kan these institutions are supposed to be there to address and I say on adjudicate and I say on jina ni tumi so no hwehwe sansem no mfa de se babi ase de to ye mfa nto what ha woni ahotofo ye adwuma yi ochina oba beduru ha say na say daddy boss ko jina gate no ka cho Alaska me ma wunguram na ya pamo na oman any reasons bia na
Organ so we shipa on na me court
unko fa se kan se woni ne ba be ko na mom
Bosco meet me in court
bia na nkrata woni ne wo sinsan ya kira say bia in the next way no and also bi ono so ni reasons owo court no ba hwehwem na ode de se ye de to ato Alaska but e could do a point bi na nipa na ye nyina ye getum se onimemra odi mra owe mra odamram because to become a chief justice it means that wudi mra wo we mra wo ne mra na da wo de mra na yesunie unim wo ye tibrekese wa bin wom and whenever you are making legal argument we assume say something that is crafted out of you being witty means very smart and intelligent and then now can precise and a very concise footholding in law. And to the very moment I oba kasano a man for be press e ba besua bibia free ho because I don't know growing up no timi hu nipa bi wo TV so kasa wo de oba jai de wo ye bia ba betie no because you know say the person is coming to sell knowledge to ba be but ye beduru a point bi na nipa na wo free say nipa we aduru bere say o kasa ye ye tie akonwa betena ase na ye betie no na fensam na o ka ne ye nsam ase se bia kora ketewa bi a ne buafu na or tutumana amanfo a wabambebu and that's exactly the playbook the current chief justice Ekura Ordenam.
Oh really?
Oh yes, Alaska is very frustrating some of the arguments and o make it and rana many year Titi your program ewo ne ho and I make a say whoever becomes the next chief justice no obi atoko no tena nasem so tena so di ye bia no should petition the new chief justice say asem no mudi and they should review all the cases. Oh yes.
The poster
per nema wa advertising no wa demonstrate incompetence na the understanding of the law no me say Ghana your constitution no ebi or no kura Chinese version and all kind free India minim
Chinese version.
Yes. And say obesesa from chin to English and now we abeti ase na ebi ana west na ebi asesa wo ebi no kura Chinese version of our constitution or no ready and you okanya understanding is different from the obiati ase. Alaska, because Anyasa, some of the arguments she's making, they are funny, they are laughable, they are right. Just say, I don't even mean who the appropriate word they may describe it. For instance, and rather make us say, Constitution say ye Chief Justice, na kind of first we no. Nina nam say, yam pass ye be good. A kuonu animasawa bontintino, yenya in camera.
That's right, and such a babontin.
And when yes, will be a quatena Supreme Court ruling no. A Ghana Amamra Constitution 1992 no eshem a clause a womb. And yes, interpretation a clause explicit a tro.
I want to be your own
court to be a new court to end shamra. The only way to change that then is to do a constitutional review. Na committee na proposing they go through process of constitutional amendment na amend parliament na Ghana for na be yes adwuma. And there are some portion cry nya parliament a true referendum and ye betimi aye
yes or no
nti nipa no no nim mra call Supreme Court ko ka kire omo say media no munyi no TV so when she knows or a chief justice onim say it can never be possible. And so already Amadu Tanko JS in the ruling na oka wom say ono cry no wan say chief justice e be make that request. Onim say Supreme Court need to me to do that ana. Enti say nipa we atena wasem so adipan you should be worried.
And the number bre at the fiasia I was say on my bush of home petition new chief justice.
My culture say institution ba ko a onye owo akwanya a even will right to life or right to live. I was así we so Jeffrey some the judge and the Supreme Court near court system. It is such an institution, you need to espouse integrity, competence at the highest level. But if you have your chief justice because today you're trying to formality or making argument like a baby, you should be worried. Sasa dream we are another to court no DD assembly now be answer crime ben so na kufu ado fast who na. Okofa no so may chief justice when the senior etetete on uja omu nyina ho kofa no bae. Her understanding of the law is very problematic. Again, the fresh argument are all making and then they say ya yina di as chief justice na ya yina di as a high court judge. Alaska we say asem no bae ya professor bi ko kan sa asem no tuma me ka kire o say your friend say it is the most weakest and I say argument so anybody even Obia onim baby a law school dying crazy should not be making that argument. Because you see very often I dey among for you say Kroman so unyan call law school na man for shade na say and that say you so legal jargons just to throw you off.
That's right.
Sa no yenu na musu mass na sa no mote I catch say Kroma whenever a conversation is riddled with mathematical proficiency ya keka percentage na se for obi ashy away.
That's right.
Enya me area. But ebia wunya abotana wura ma bewusa nkwasasem na mo keka. Fine X. So wunya kokodo na wura sa mathematical conversation or mo have na ebia kra wo benya better understanding. Let me tell you, law ya fra de be reasoning. Alaska okol law ma ya fra de be ya friend say jurisprudence and the theory, the philosophy and the reasoning behind law. So I know it goes beyond the test. I will book.
Okay.
Mrano, the purpose, why, the how, the reasoning behind it. So whenever you will obey Kasan, they keep your friend saying quoting constitutional phrases that is not the law. The law, the actual law is the reasoning behind the law. Anything I walk court, na san kamrana da hono. Ofuma chapter we say young boat wonku ehun here say kwakodi asem meboa.
That's right.
Because the law they say obokro no yam fa nko prison. I didn't say do kokko.
So I called the reason
exactly
behind
that is why
that particular clause.
That is where the jurisprudence comes in. The reasoning behind it. And maybe say law any reasoning the na nyini. law any reasoning the any reasoning because emranya maaye no na yenim say mete ya wunya mehwe na mebɔ wasoma eti amra and I'm not supposed to do that emra bia ni ho a eche me anase yamfa say emra ni ho the reasoning will tell you say wunya nya mehwe na mebɔ wasoma I'm not supposed to do that and na ebia also ti hoyi why me say obi anhumi nkwa na me hu ye and na me de abufu abɛbɔ wasom say amanfo hu reason the what they say na they will justify why men so me bɔbɔ wasom
exactly
so law was crafted out of reasoning. Anya reasoning anya law na the reasoning by
my reasoning
na the law by
based upon reasoning you craft
law out of it. So reasoning is a larger spectrum more than law. And that is why you bet you have one constitutional test. Yes, best subject to multiple interpretations.
That's right.
Because we want to, because the whole essence of law is to put society together. To your fans say your integration, by your intact, your coercion, and anything that is seeking to disintegrate society, we clip it with interpretation.
That's right.
That is the reasoning behind the law. Good. And this the Chief Justice, I will say, Yayina as Chief Justice. Now, Yayina as your father saying, Supreme Court Judge. Alaska, the first qualification to become a Chief Justice, I
also a Supreme Court Judge.
Good.
I told me law school now, I'm going
and then you call law school, the first, the primary way as a wateni and son of a Chief Justice, you must first be
a Supreme Court Judge.
Good. So when you become a Supreme Court judge, when you become a Chief Justice, a extra administrative role and the amount. So more or less like she is the CEO of the judiciary.
That's right. So are you Supreme Court judge and you are elevating to
good. Just like a medical doctor, Owusu teaching hospital, you are elevating any CEO of the hospital.
That's
you
right.
are a doctor and you are because maybe the friends said the Teaching Hospital Act in say man doctors and the mayor CEO. So you are a doctor and you've been promoted to become a CEO. The same way Chief Justice because so obey Chief Justice now you are the friend S officio. S officio say what rises to position now when by the virtue say now what position be that and that position you know na de wa ba beduru ba bia wa ba beduru grandin e wo ho so you perform the role simultaneously.
Okay,
because without Chief Justice, without Supreme Court judge, you can never become a Chief Justice.
So
a two role that is being exercised in simultaneously at a time. Good. You're making that point away. Again, so how you judiciary now? If there is one institution here uttermost of credibility, attitude, a best. Can never be challenged anywhere there.
The Supreme Court.
Good. And so what kind of judiciary, no, or more regulations and as for espouse on integrity, attitude, and competence on your part. So Alaska, let's assume without admitting, say, in some petitioner the come Chief Justice, no. Yes, we a constitutional body said that be mame. Baby ababeduri, what done subamoni di? What does subamoni di? Our constitution is on the ground of misbehavior, incompetence, or infirmity, both body and mind.
That's right.
Misbehavior, just say what does subamoni di? Which has to do with what? Attitude. 2.3. And it is on that basis, and I hear Pamo from Supreme Court. So what does subamoni di? Now, so won't mean your administrator of the judiciary, won't mean your CEO. And as a administrative head of the judiciary with subamoni, can you be a judge of the highest court of the land with that same subamoni?
No.
Come on, and I'm saying reasoning came before law. 2.3. And the what is a man for a TV so quote and constitutional verses forget them. People are not thinking. That is why I wanted to use common sense to situate this so that you understand. Because a juma bakwa ye hear the uttermost of integrity. Nipa desani enya ohwasa yes ye nyina nipa de but you need to advertise leave competence in that kind of way no. In the Alaska yakọ sunwani teaching ho ana yakọ teaching hospital bi wo esirem ba bi anasa bi anasa akra ha ba bi kolebu yakọ ye no na CEO no butu oba so on office or for so na tete ntade nyina na eda ya che no wada subamboni adi ye ko hwe mi nyina wie ne se CEO we ese ye pam no ye nya ne CEO biem o se ma pam me de am ye doctor nti me ko ward akwa he the question say wo ko ward na akwa hwe hwan ko nipa na wo ko hwe mo e ma wom wo betimi asan akoto another mo na
I wish you common sense. That's right.
Because nipa na wo fom no ntina ye yi wo firi ba bia wo ni nipa dijuma. So get this point clear. Wo fom nipa. That is why ye yi wo firi ba bia wo serve nipa in that capacity. Entino wontumi nka say ye yi madi as a headmaster entino me ba be teacher.
Because when any demotion,
dabi.
When any demotion,
I outright dismissal.
That's right.
Why yes money? What does money? So money in any organization, we don't tolerate it. What hey Ochina? You have two studio now to be mona.
So.
Or as some kind of maker. It's not because Ajumana Woyan Winimio.
That's right.
But Enam South Subana what that didn't all the experience our radio mona tena sema wine obian care biem. Cause Subana what that didn't are rubbish everything.
I see me a substantive minister, you made it because deputy.
You can't do that. And there are people who make a very funny argument about saying MPR. Or your minister, your minister, na friends. I didn't know they call MP. That is a joke of an argument. Oh yes, I'm for making that cheap argument.
MP unkro for na to about the amount. And a wababa ye MP.
Yes.
And when the officer
extra rule
the amount. I know you'll be now appointed.
Yeah, there are two distinct rules.
No, Tio, I know you'll be now appointed. It is a me last before at Obama me say MP. And omudimi akọ parliament and Mahama say or making me minister. And I watching the minister. Last before catch some pay me as MP.
And akwa no kwa paper no. Ye pamo no as a deputy minister.
Ye pamo no as a deputy but no ye MP.
Ye twen ye duru abato no. Ono ani nkrofo nya kwanya mo ye ne dai.
Omo tutia no.
Nje se paper no we no he fa.
Oh fear.
The political career na we ya no. Sana ye no.
A nice example now man.
Good. So Alaska, that is and some toko no na ma oga ni nyina eye nsem hunu. Yes, we can respect her or achieve. That is why I say I am worried because the legal thinking is very weird, and you're very archaic, very primitive, and I'm still wondering. Nipa, I am worried, and I'm challenging the state to say, Obia mami we yatna na semsu dibia should go back to the court. Now, yeah, open because we're demonstrating how incompetent she is.
And I didn't way.
And a yedi assembly. And a election petition. You know when you did in some Okroma say. And Alaska, I say, President Mahama, new relief no other account. I say President Mahama, a new whole coin say. Your friend is saying, committee na or set it up, ma yetra na semsono. A more like a jurisdiction, and it was not properly constituted. When you look around, you look around that. Yes, obi beti na say demulivo de MPP aban also fire o nti aban say ne be kwakọ committee ho we on it we were assemble and aban said that is a moral argument we can have, but constitutionally and legally the president has the power to go through the constitution and say for 2 Supreme Court judges. Whoever he appoint, that is his business.
And the constitution qualification is 2 Supreme Court judges.
So whoever the president appoint is none of your business. Yeah, the president can be biased and appoint people he thinks but that has no basis in law. To raise a red flag, say many way was na we do be a 70 no. Emrabe na ya trose. Alaska betremo ni na medina sem as a judge na medimawa. I create a certain fraternal alliance with you, and you know, me our side, and any other issue that come means we met them. I'm because you sit at the court, you dispense justice, you don't create alliances and fraternity.
Kaya, the same talk on we. I think one of Nkrofia no do masem. Sakoko man ya opuni.
Yes.
Once opuni rezi ne legal when rezi issue say one of the justices
yes
was a parliamentary candidate
yes
of the MPP.
Yes.
enti no anka on recuse no oba be ka say e wo ho ne anka politics
sorry no dey no I'm sorry yes your friend saying on we are speaker of parliament yes sorry no dey no so this is a woman and Niema what done a demonstrated clear biases in her era and if there's ever been a chief justice obeji akonwa no de be gu nanim ase demonstrate to people ne partisan biases this woman the oil no she's just advertising herself and me it's a clear embarrassment she's not hidden to wise counsel makache says we see musuo kwan so a wona se haha ukowu a obi police ni betimi stop you say park na ye message wo de ahohara betu car na akọ because who kwa wu nothing will stop wona se haha obi stop a wuntie o ma me betimi afro kwaku dan wani bro bra ba say unko wu ya enti wani so enti ono wa sha se egu nanim ase obi akanya nsesamche no ntie enti on to so be gu nanim ase awie no nothing will stop her enti basis ben no ogina so aka say that particular panel was not properly constituted in line with the article 146 which article and again they are making some funny arguments say Esenka president neka say you were as chief justice na mom not as a and say no you can as a supreme court judge na right. Constitution nim very well say that role no a dual role.
That's right.
And one because you cannot be a chief justice without being a supreme court judge in you when role now who play no has to do with attitude. You've been flagged as an incompetent person. Alaska, just common sense. Chief justice you flagging say is a army. Now could this be in semunu ne you dia yanka say your friend say sack soldier your frau the disgraced officer.
Yeah, that's right.
Disgraced. Because you were the and the chief justice today has become a disgraced chief justice. Alaska ne emblem ordinam onama sa tag in a bono. This is the disgraced chief justice ya pam na ye di because okoda suba money edi. The Alaska yabada sorry and they say or te supreme court edi asem na okodi ni pasam na so okodi mo asem. Because who will have trust and confidence to go and sit before a disgraced person? Somebody what demonstrates or you're incompetent. I'm a constitutional body. I find you guilty. Why not quite telling the Mamma dinner sem?
No, no more quarter of presiding over. No, also on you court in Indy.
And I'm say, Ogun and Nimase, Ebia, Obitu Nifuan Kebabuano, Tie. Assembly or the court and no, or Kofale no high court. Assembly, seeking constitutional interpretation. High court any jurisdiction to hear anything concerning interpretation of it. Because Nimsa Supreme Court, a man for more honor or in the side. And to the side, they call high court any whole kind to our Metias Assembly are working. Because a constitutional interpretation, high court and church constitution, it is only the Supreme Court that is seated with authority.
That's right.
So, some my country and say, just watch out. Either the high court. Ebe bo asem not wagu and now say refer to Supreme Court.
I'm a catcher someone need jurisdiction.
Exactly. So why would the chief justice only mra wako school we are ebe some of these basic errors?
And ama won sama o ka say ye certificate na na ya ni nam ho nyina ye certificate na na just the aka no. And I don't believe in certificate. Yes. I believe in Alaska Tiway obiena no okasa metimi testify say this guy is intelligent. You don't need to go home and bring a certificate. No. I am not a certificate person. Intelligence must be demonstrated wherever, whenever, whatever. Baby I will be whenever you get opportunity. Abrantie we obedi Germany for wu bebrebe on fa na Adolf Hitler so wan. Some catch us on Germany of Austria so genia no okọ join in the first world okun we ohu say hyperinflation atete o man no. Then na oye spy for the German government at the time no mosman say nkrofo no omo pese omo yeku nti yasoma nkọ na kwatete omo na be report my uja for kwata otie nsem na omo kana na ono awe interest wo. No say mo there.
They say no I'm report back to government biem. Owura man okwaje mic na okokasaaye obie na no so okasaaye pe no mu se bibi wo mu wan kofa certificate amachire o.
That's right.
So sa certificate te no yes very important by obabi e de kire but when it comes to demonstration of knowledge intelligence na se for no ma manfo ni hu adanse abra wa bie wa no na wo kasa young coffee and I may a masters in this and I'm a doctor with and say without it, you have nothing to show. That is why the last time I catch us and when new things come, people are dear nipo mo akoma dear children nipa or more so low self-esteem.
Exactly.
Because of freeze on one casanama on enough into just on your iPhone 15 and 16 kura not the chere. And some man for who say one so
add the value.
Add the value. Because on one casani he doesn't see any value. But if you have absolute confidence in your certain no camera and yet anything add anything value to you, but you are using it because you need it. Oga kotoka kuntai baby and the purchase ho no see free. Because Ono Kasano doesn't see value in herself unless a man for bad attaching about linking to baby. Sana certificate in the Nakwakoye. Enti ma men say, Assembia Chief Justice at Tennis with DBA Alaska. Ye open up because Nema or ye or Gusu good and Nimasia demonstrated say Emrana Mekanabia Ghana Constitution no or not Chinese version or kind. And I was certain twisted understanding. Say Obinsu ne tu no for na so obi ne tu for Alaska bi o sua de aduru sa mere we. E de na ba ma ho kwan ma obi ayusu. Nsem na wadi kan dia court no. Okwa Supreme Court boni nyina tugu. So obaka ya ba ko de ko fa odo so nya 5-0 no bi. O de ko High Court mo botugu ye. De o de ko ECOWAS Court minim de abesi e.
No so ya bo egu.
Yo enti enne o so okọ High Court. Nsem no ni nyina so. Maame jetum se wabo brabone. Tumi na obenya no one farm one nipa wo de tena nipa so Supreme Court bench na wote no nipa na wote ho no wo ni omo relationship say na city.
That's right.
Because why we chief justice obenya nipa omo wo show omo ase a nkasa be wo impact positive omo ankra be di adanse ti awo.
That is it.
That tells you the kind of leader you are. It means judiciary now will pray about omo they don't want you. I keep telling people say never be comfortable at a place you are not needed. Me one friend baby opa ye me den come.
It's true.
Even TV program crowd friend say oh Ivan next week your program ade be chena one friend ya me ma 92.3 ade be chena one kai me because anything can change e bia wa change your plan na me sorry mfiri me fia hu ade ma ba say me o ka say Friday I don't do that. Wherever I go no I make sure say I am needed. That is why I'm coming. What friend intina meba. That is why the last time Kwame Sefa kan na your friend say Sami Jam issue no the year no. Sada na am say Sami the chair no. Because me ubisa am sa question na nka ye hu bedware ye ho. Ko ubisa Sami Jam bisa wo pede wo studio. Na bisa say o studio say nya choba na obi atwam awura ho.
That's right.
Choba na utwam awura ho. But studio yam frɛ wa wo ma. So for Sami Jam fit to go there so obi na frɛ no. Unless I can't change so studio it's a trouble they would do am fro bia and bia ba udru ha wura o sika na akonom
e no be bisa so peden
ndu bi se ma ba ha no bisa me peden ya nka ba gibi o
me dey bisa
o ba gibi
that's how me no one anti
so you don't ask the person of peden wa ha you ask the invitee no so omra ho what are some na make no because o studio no nya choba obi a sorry ya no akowuram
right
you invite people and so no mo ba what I say so I think say toko no there ogusu ogunanim ase nyame adom obekọ soso ogunanim ase a just to affirm and say man na ye mubunum ya ka in the past and say your judiciary no omama na is so dirty na no na me ka say the new chief justice obeba no ye make sure say obe go down to your lower court Alaska and some form di no sa magistrate lower court no what's some nubia or read about and sometimes
that's right
so what chance on some of the rulings now for paper be now kanya or read about hope. So I am urging the president say on tasking whoever becomes
the chief justice
to go down.
Just a resetting and for the
yes, it's not just about the top here. Because a man for who needed justice at the villages or munim kokonem poncheno, they are suffering.
Oh,
and we need to sanitize. So now no make joy pram na make say the removal of the chief justice should be the beginning. A man for say me say Mahama mpamim a man for Dabi. Me say sanitizing should include the lower court.
That's
because
right.
I know the sentencing regime no are very problematic and we need to look at it. Ebi na ebe man now Attorney General dey plea bargain in nama Ghana for buofu.
That's right.
Because this is not what we need. We need to create a system. I best scare man for who say Ghana man who may your mind for who need. And that is what we need to do. So it is never about the Chief Justice. But last time we see, Mama no yeah some miscalculation be and na passes na or yeah the oye. Do you know why? Abramo Pamo no our coy no. Na in her twisted head, she thought to say Ghana for better one time demonstration because you pam Chief Justice. People were rather celebrating on social media. People were entering MPP boy we back say onim say John Mahama ye Ghana for duro.
That's right.
Say na say pam Chief Justice or expect so be hu anger or Ghana. No, opian hu anibubefu because abrabo no mo born kroma na ye wura mfi ye. Afenyo market speaker nya asem ade cheye na wa set date LGBT case besi na wa hu date ya de mai
tie or the asem no call 12 p.m. about 2 p.m. no atumi a panel.
Yes, and you see the biases were quite obvious and she never thought that MPP was going to lose power, so she had to do that to safeguard her position. Because the biases were quite, because common sense enough to tell you say common sense, and somebody should have told her. Don't believe we are kind of saying. We treating the papa and the panel was not properly constituted. They are not there, no. Or they are obedience. You don't believe crowd the court.
That's right.
A civil society organization that they call court. What's an my papa no call retirement and say we do ruling, but or said the ruling man. No. Now free some kwana nim nyansa. Now when the Supreme Court na disansem hunu wen some fu e ma Ghana for buafu. Ama ye Supreme Court na kwada atachem Ghana for suan ko vote for change. So that change is starting from you are out there talking nonsense. No. I think say ebiwa on miscalculate your backfire. Asem na kwakoda because na say galam say na mamfo eka. So otina say na hu say na me hu hia na say na ma memfa another one kotum. Edi ebe activate certain conversations. So that's the reason why I'm not here. I can't say. So on no there, the essence and the relevance. She belongs to the past or a history. I'm just hoping, sir, President Mahama will find a very more competent person. And me, if I'm to advocate here, there is this gentleman called your friend saying, Amadou Tanko, JSC.
Fantastic.
I think the entire I have never met him, but
what kind of rulings?
I read the ruling. And I think that I see myself in him. And I think that if possible, now he can become the next Chief Justice. I think he can do a lot to sanitize the judiciary.
But I say that was
and Solomon Owusu and so
for 8 months may afford the opportunity to ask questions. And I mean so the mayor may clarify just to there be a catch as a governance and yabosom. And then Grufobia question them equaya your babontia, then you need to drag the people along.
Yeah.
Everything that is happening Biano, people must know, people must understand, and people must be part of whatever that is going on. And mine now create some sort of a shield be around you, and people don't see what is going within. People begin to speculate. When people begin to speculate, Sanitizing special build it, now develop it into propaganda. We want to be in control because you are not giving out information.
Yeah.
And one of the strengths of President Mahama is communication. It is a way a president, you don't sit down for some of these things at all. You leverage that particular potential now. I bet me I'm our advantage. I'll bet me a church and say more because on your beer. You be a question about say make a friend minister because you could see clearly this is a gentleman who is on top of almost all the issues because he's part of it, he understands it and he's able to dish out questions sometimes very detailed answers to clarify a lot of things. I think it's one of the best things in recent time. I think that is good because you see all your campaign not Ghana for concern about say because call almost 3 to 4 good years. Now President Akufo-Addo veli ne ho for media encounter. Ya ne ba ho so not ya brochire any media for bisa no question e wa amanone. But mine na otima odi so no he shut the door. Na Ghana for nya kwenya bisa no question because Neema na Ekoso at the time was so filthy to the extent I'm not sure say he could have defended himself. Is the reason why I shut it down. No? So President Mahama made a categorical promise to the people of this country. So obey transparent and the people of Ghana no benya kwenya abisa no question. So apart from say Enra one of the campaign promises I was satisfied it also abia door na Ghana for to see Nema Ekoso as to whether say one in the Bay Adwina and answer one in the Adwina. That's a different thing. But the bottom line is that the door is open. Or media questions via Hobiano or Mubisano. But Anra said na Owusu can idea about one. Now dominating in the questions has to do with accountability. Accountability in your government at the Fufrobia Namum. The various individuals are in the last 8 years. Plunged this particular country into the abyss. The very people who leverage on political power be at the board or minor chrono. There has been a lot of talk about because early stages of Mahama administration, that was when this aura came.
Yeah.
And they be when say na yakwa chiwe na gidi na ko bia na ya money bill na case na gu sa and na Ghana forward becoming increasingly frustrated say what is the way forward because it's 8 months down the line. I don't know kwa gidi hey na gu gidi hey na gu na attorney general press conferences upon press conferences in some okay can sometimes what in a while to utie bi kwa na obo yafu na whole lot of so Ghana forward very angry and getting frustrated because you see adia ba kwa ma Ghana for di lie so koto aba nyina yes enkrofo mo wiaye no
yeah
ye no mo bedi na ya make sure say as a prisoner ye do mo beko na ya se agi esika aka ho because ye ntimi entena se emu oman by the virtue say obi anya akwanya say me minister me we and that open door for that particular person na we are yet kroma enim kwan fa say politics. It is not mainly based on merit some way be nipa no nimdia na say some way be about who you know, the alliances, the affiliation, who your friends are, and those kind of way na yede and see anya careful we might end up smuggling a lot of criminals in the name of this appointee and say for amoma be we minor. And in the last 8 years that's exactly what happened. So yen to me metana ha and Ghana for akodi lie so akoto aba say yembra na yeme punish these people no then it becomes something else. Now I like it when President Mahama said say the omonya certain temporary relief na mum they will not go scot-free. I hope sir he will walk that particular line because one thing Ghanaians will never forgive Mahama government and they say failure to hold these people accountable. An attorney general must also do everything that he can to inspire and engender confidence. Sabeya manfo abamumu because in recent times so social media personal aura they get a lot of clicks on social media. But any people be abamubu on the aura because they don't even know where it is going. So I think say yen use this particular opportunity na yen get Ghana for along because my culture say you see say amamuo si ho a me fan say we amamuo. Now what do you say soldier for mo twa ho ahia na ebo ho ban then wonti amamu ase trust and confidence ameno ya repose e wade we and the ma ban di gina ho. So the very moment you see say citizens abamu bu and they are withdrawing their trust, they are withdrawing their confidence, and you know say you are endangering the prospect of democracy and the governance na what ho no. So encounter is very very important. President Mahama took the opportunity to reaffirm his commitment to say or baba ya a make sure say nipa no omodo omo nsa abo man sikam no aman no omo bedi na no say na wa follow me in recent times. I've been doing some way be on scholarship secretariat na wo head near ma akoso ha yetimi ma kwabrane scholarship na ono afa na yire ne ma me ensa na o dia ka na yire ho na ya first school nipa na ya man scholarship ne ya tamo mu nyina na ya twa plente kita mo aso omokogu UK na on monthly basis ye ti o ne yere ne maka me who be that there is no scholarship regime as anema we nyina akoso e wo ho and the question is a day in a state no ya fa ho eninti na enra wo say most of the questions ni nyina e border on oral accountability because you are going to a point amanfo you a bit confused what is the way forward na ye call is government really committed. And now we see if question some now can about your friend saying some NDC people behind the scene trying to cut corners we are. You see, nipa no betime wadamfo. But obi a we o man no adamfo sem bia nim. And this is no time to be cutting corners. And you see, Ghana for dodo na anya akokodro to abati akufo ado yi na ban firi because of corona na akoso se be ya ye be present na ya afford ye ho a certain opportunity and momentum and a certain will. Ye betime daily ruthlessly with these individuals because they came purposely to plunder this country and enrich themselves. That is why a lot of millionaires who have sprung up from the MPP and they're bragging around because the whole governance of Mosati app was an avenue for people to enrich themselves, and that's exactly what they did. We cannot sit here and allow this culture to fester. That is why the conventional red lines must be established in the red sand. Sebeya manfo be hu say o man no enye ade eda ho ye ma akwanya say ya ba ye minister enye se wunim nyansa achen obia and enye se school awko e bi ni asase we so e privilege and e de ama na president enye gidie wo mu enti execute your functions benefit amount in line with the welfare of the people. Apart from that, there is nothing. But you have no any sign. You the 2 million amount for how who are home so I can see nipa would or wouldn't say Madam for the minute crowd they could deal for now on found few because what do different level. That kind of psycho mentality now. So I think say we need to yen demonetize the political space. Man for who say enye avenue and answer adia yade eko enrichi ho. Na mom eye servitude yade ba besom and adia ba ko betimi yade establish this particular thing. This particular your friend say oral thing na. Yeah, who say prosecution cause Attorney General has been talking a lot about this. Your friend say prosecution now amount for negotiating no friend pre-bargaining agreement and so you see yes in line with law and as for but don't forget that particular plea bargaining act was slotted into the constitution in 2022 even for no more so the very people who have stolen from us they knew the outcome they ever be see that and then they made sure that the plea bargaining will be added to the criminal distance and that is a window they created say eto there na ya ti hai me bana say me best sabo camera nyina me wi akona say ya be chim na me ka so oh don't worry camera me fa tere with them the two beba na munja me this kind of nonsense you understand that and it is not deterring enough me the criminal justice system should be deterring enough to deter further engagement. Prison nye bibia kakeo the most important thing in a man's life is the freedom. So when that freedom is curtailed, that is taken away, it should serve as a deterrent to others. That is why you punish a crime then as a form. So we cannot just be running around this plea bargaining. Abasana, you are creating enough incentive and motivation for others to come and steal. You understand? So I think that we need to navigate this particular storm in a very pragmatic manner because first 1990 and Ghana 14 they didn't even know what was happening within the government space. First we better not use can kwase abrofo boma obi o tie akura se no why confused no born in someone tiase akura na because they were marking people how fluent and eloquent they were by now. I am telling you that the average and the ordinary Ghanaian is part of the politics. They have inserted themselves. They are asking a lot of critical questions. The why. They want answers. If you are unable to satisfy them with the whys now, or make a tell out, you understand? So government must always navigate through this particular stormy circumstances by having in mind the wishes and aspirations of the people who voted. Because people behind them, they are navigating, they set the stage and the agenda, everything for the government. And you know what who's near my way now what disconnect or you become lonely because that me catch a kufa buy makola made omontuma se hono nam so na no because they felt say ajem kwa boba be say we the last year no be kon okofa makola nke matuguru so born on the same person no now be answer what is the difference the last time na akufa no be kon or ye mistake of makola and can mad tomatoes na ntoma na be bono because was sell minor bubu but this gentleman was the darling boy of the same people. What has changed and the 2 million just to make sure so the bayard the papa abrababoni or the boy enti so it is a lesson I think that every single politician should learn say yama utumi and just woni nyansa change obia and I think that is what we should do. So President Mahama what he did for me I think that good we sure Ghana for we are watching see how things will play out and on the your friend saying Galam say yes I agree with him say the distraction has gone on for almost 8-9 good years. Yes. You cannot use 6 months, not 8 months to stop it because magic na yeah. And they say, I think that the baseline that has been established thus far, not any deterrent enough, is the reason why some people still feel emboldened say they can go because Galam say number say MPP for remain this year na yaba and so. When join news, almost capture about 400 excavators. I'm for a year and a port. That is a reporter details in your so if all these things are true, then I think government will have to establish this particular way. But saga say no, I no go area. People who think they are buying aba. and we need to stop these things because I know the destructive nature of these enterprises, on the life of Ghana for the priority not to go to out the best saying soon and so forth. So I think social media and so forth. People are asking questions about Galamsey because in as much as me with the 8 months, I think the government is doing something because land minister he did something very important by making sure say act now abaya very controversial or no sorry for acting that come age say repeal because that was one of the promises that President Mahama made to the people of this country. So I think that is a credit and it tells you that the land minister and government are willing to stop this. Your friends have and I think that is a good start. Sometimes all fight corruption and all fighting the most important thing are your commitments and the willingness to do certain things, and I think they have demonstrated it a bit. Say yes, they are ready to fight Galamsey because the same Galamsey so unfortunately you sacrifice about your friends say 4 great 7 or 8. Yes, great men. So, if there is something that we can do to honor their memory, it is stopping this nonsense. And I think President Mahama, beyond the rhetoric, will have to, your friends, man up and make sure stringent and very, biting, tough measures. Ever stopping all these things. And yes, Kasano there. I'm not sure it will solve anything.
Solo.
Yeah, Gronto.
Now, where dear?
Namia need you, Acadia John de Becamwa. If you pay. Now, John
Papa could be your tough friend. Now, some may you decline can. Was in Yami, why now for me? Acadia John Mama, the vessel. Okay, and Jamia said, who ye dear not to say, no idea decline when you pay Wabra Boom, one day, I can't who could never, but the beer go for the issue. Oh, anyway, so more years ago. We are anyway, when we did free. Okay, yeah, starting with media encounter with President Enra.
I just sent me and go and send Kobanko for Pesomotiano. Corruption and Galamsey. These are the 2 key issues. If he say Ghana for a dome, now in some here, it is a Abawe Nura Mama Diagro. Because let me tell you, and this is the Ghana for Konosao. BP that be good when you say, what is here so much. And at that time, Ghana for any alternative before. The first time I who say, I friend the College Church down in Accra. It will be a demonstration prayer. Yeah, demonstration of the Empire boy say, oh, my penny, apart from Yamin Chuamuka, some more, na ye census, and okay, Okroma.
Mekai.
It didn't ya goody. Ebio. Operation recover all sika we are any and your mekanwana Ghana for who say any one tikrum ha obuwia sika yes be a yesio enti momrana momanyima. These were the 2 key issues edurama by it is open partners san you man one handler one would dig woman politicians must understand say be being we make me say win the election than to perform, than to respect contracts, social contract. Yeah. Say me ba me shop me say oba so ye. I don't think corruption. Me Attorney General start here. Me and one of the pillars and me born a basopa say Odinka be ye press conference ye do dia to ya na ye hu say ye koni say. Afi watiada. I couldn't remember. I would. They did about could be shaved if you have the bar. I could read. I
know the old one out to be a money. I am the power. Why are you beautiful? I do go ahead the audio bar. What the National Service way the Abba? What the Ghana Bruni, my friends, Mustafa Ahmed. Was that the color toss? Uncle MB, another color in your crowd, not to and I told you, what did the Alberto say? Oma Bogana Corner. In fact, National Service Squad, your share said by end of July, Odombe as in Libya. Yeah. MP, dear Koy, Sram, Yantefi. So, if
it became a source of worry. Now, so we are here, opposition for granted, opposition here. Say any MB before what we had somebody came over there. Now, on one party for they are so worried. Day and day, Autobusha was Owusu. So they are unable to even go back to Omuafie to go and tell them, say, and some kind of opposition, that is what is confronting them. And no pressure. And I'm say people are cutting deals, and because as a general secretary without the party office, they be a complaints here there. And some are showing evidence. Ejekobasa na ni bride abem. Tibefi say eyasema eni say across obi amine say odi be agro. I said it and I say o man pedi mama ne manyini. Na hwe sharaf ni yi. They have more years ahead of them. Yeah. Now they be aya na me the Kwame Nkrumah example say Sabia ya ban Nkrumah there was no go and commit me wini Jomoro city. Ade brother no aboro Nkrumah. To even become the chairperson of CPP. Yeah. Now on Nkrumah ono Ghana kasa beroti. But moja binti ne papa binti. Yeah. Ne papa di binti otu koye MP for Jomoro. Of course also Nkrumah bana. Obi a to aba and block
Nkrumah na ne wo mutirim.
That is it. And no more of the family by CPP. So President Mahama has that duty to protect their children. And don't you need find it? Ebia or yellow dear, not from dear some pedi. But essence on to me more baby and trading go for CCO. You must be ready to hire and fire. Or appoint to be 1 week long, my Pablo, who will be any contract. So they better on one same. There is no way you must pamper anybody. It's as a chimney for home. So when you're 10 or manga on you are, I'm telling you, let's say 2024. Every baby on Kobe, I don't want to take. Tita, no, my remember Krum. It was so difficult. And conform on the T-shirt, mom. What they were doing is say, almost sharing this at idea or form, almost the tag could do rally grass or much at idea every video. So, oh, yeah, Jessica, I know where you first. That was what was happening. Not just any braba. Yeah, the Encasa Pudio show, your party, your being, and Jacquia Belonche. Let's share video. Are you with me? Yeah. On tackle corruption. Confoy Isika. National Scholarship Secretariat. I could follow your new mammy and Nubia, nor the protected chrono normal. And people must be clear with it. Number one, opaque court. So the one court here, yeah. Court cast a wide bonia, say Jow. Yeah, be Jow. Oh, yeah, you know, I don't sound so the other Ivan Ekar. The amendment of the Act 1079 by criminal and other related offences or be amended in the dear fellow. Plea bargain. June 27th, I know the Kyei. But July 22, you are having my pass. I know the same move. Sir, Money Mungo, we are men, not change, and some friend the law. Yeah. Now you are busy on that. What do you say? Yeah. And you put a Mungo, we are making sure 60% with the baby. Edu the idea near Combo Faber. How is it said to beat Mahama of ECG? Up to now, committee be friend. Now you do say ECG, Cronwalk so. How is this a fellow markets as a butcher? Can you get a book? Oh, I am from. I will joking in this country. No amount of semantics for which you are saying we are. Tom Penny Mama, you must act. Yes, Andrew, it was reassurance or Casse. Investigation Biano, yes, but let me tell my Penny say. Maybe costed you now make a boy. I'm not interested in going to our country. Say, yes, she said, game room from a children. You better go. Dear minimum, say, born at net in him. Support that you may be benefit. I don't know. Dear minimum, say, go on, Fife. Yeah. Ain't a honor. And Manenko, said, the General Secretary says that people are cutting deals, which some of us know that is happening. Now, I don't have frustrating process, you know, at the end of the day. Because the second coming, he must go home with a legacy. So, Oba, you know, Ghana for some man, second chance, you know, one farmer mediagro. Now, go for a good way to be good and he's also not lucky because the point is that I just cry, and this is an internal premise. yakwa kope omu leader so tiase and the people are of the view say yenwie sika ngu ho na yenso efa konko elections. If you have such mentalities as Uncle Fono, they will try to want to cut deals to get money for this task ahead. Now they are all for to man and in your day. And now on the question of Galamsey, the Minister of Defense of Manebwama, the bosom friend, Mutala, so close to the president, Alaji Muniru. Alaji Muniru, so close to the president.
Yeah.
What you say? Samuel Sapo, Samuel Abwaje, and these army officers. On my soon here from the 6th of August to the 15th or so of August. Omani now back to a standstill. Before then, Maso Mahama, Major Maso Mahama, all they do is get without. Because of Galamsey, Yabio. And I say the Ghana water say or person or tuning soon because of the Galamsey. I can say, cause don't do a million free across the country. Oh, call Chebi says here and call for top pure water the dear Gary. Chebi, go to Chebi, move from reporters and go to win your great area. Ya tira wa ye ho and then go for the sika gananka because of opedia omupe good. Hey, that's over to go near you. There was a point. 80 yeah state of emergency. My penny things otherwise say Owusu. And no, they did the issue of NIMOS, National Anti-Galamsey Operative Secretary. If the president will give them the full backing, I'm telling you, they will deal with the matters. Because who the commander is.
Yeah.
That he's a straightforward commander. He's someone that has the nation. Kanabua on Yobia. Yana go 40 this officer Amabu and Yano.
And everyone uncle for the
this is Oko Army open the top 2 army officers. Kanabua is one of them.
Yeah.
So they are not related.
They are no relationship.
They are not related at all. Kanabua no kwasa Amabu abeye minister ina or didn't encounter.
Who live the baby?
Oh, the soldier knew at the baby.
Politics.
He's a fantastic man.
A professional military officer. Top 2 Ukomwa obeying the credentials. And say he has sworn an oath to defend the integrity of this country. People must by all means find fault with him. But I want to assure all those that are doing it, I am ready to defend that kennel. For one thing, sir, his image in the Ghana Armed Forces. And your politics, I would say anybody.
Yeah.
Omani say, Omani gu. Yet home, Adam go for, yet you cromwana, yet to the forest in Yamma, see him go to Galamsey, a good follow in Nabai. No, I can't offer LI 2462 aba. One by ya one anonymous and said yes again. Yes, yeah, crash that you couldn't crash. Yes, a brother you go for it for a reason. Say a Bema forest no, and your money in Rasa, I come. Would you buy an ocean and another madam, and it's young woman you go to a good year. Every say, Minister, and I sorry say, Omungo Yisa, airline, very important. Na momwa sa NIMOS for no ye nyira be boa mo no mo kusa kun no mo kuno mo disu nkunimu a ebe boy other areas I think the president did well.
Yeah.
He was frank. I thought say on the issue of Galamsey no the opposition they say they don't want to go say in state of emergency. Yes, but on can say anye yesu a ye nya na be bonachi.
Yeah.
So you have an option of state of emergency, and you have an option to say obey use the existing tools to say I'm in way no money, you know. Now idea about be buano pounds so the same. Ne asema wakasa say MCB and DCB man who come and important ye Galamsey over public official.
Sure.
Because who to be the chairman of DISEC. Now important ye Galamsey na rasoto. Na dia na wo to so ye.
What's all I day?
Tina mampeni no dear. Na oka sembi and the chese omo wia ye pan Akufo-Addo ne nkofo. Also for the last 4 years Ghana for ship $42 billion every kroma. Companies in Nyoma. So omo de kran Nyoma ba Nyoma na maskana ko. In individuals here okay and your party for year MPP for year the quiet Samuel me when you find case it is a o ma beni me nko she o ma beni o no abekasa asem ya kire na me tuona boso me ba ku mienu miensa na me te o ya na o ma beni me no ba be and o ma beni e ka o ye be chia ya mo because the SCO Krobo wa ko hwe sa de that scholarship secretariat ayeke o mo ye so no ma ko she parliament just gives you man na boss ono en se ba ye ka etwagu okrobo ye ka se gift o ware de ai kata se sere proye ni se buru bia be kwa yi se ekoso ne sui onti krobo a ate abi wona nka se gift o ware young no wa ko je scholarship ni bi o ko je bi ye ye me ya no wo je wie ana what yesim dia sisim e wo je wie ye ya dive na to us no o ko je bi ma ni ku Ejimi show cross order de no kwaje no stipends ro jibi ma ne kuru so de ni kuru so odidi ada ne kuru so akwaje no wasa gi stipends ama no na wo gwa na ye campaign ma MPP na e ka be nsa wo gwa na ye campaign me ne wo ka sei na national services so proye ne kankan ya wo ye ho ada no root shadow sasato ya shadow I say babies nyina wo mo chese dipa nsuro nyame wakotra na baby kafu be se me ka to so mo nim nyansa baby underwa cross for gwa no wa baby cross for gwa ni obokro no hey na wo enkwada mako 1000 under one jisika na no as enye nyina fo ore fi se da emrewafo ne kokrofo so 92 years chimi for gwa national service ana obo sa ko fa Kenya fo nyina so be she chese kro no time gwa no mo abo na sa se mo ya yete ho convince me the tia and this is as we fast national health insurance hey papa no won start expose wo mu na wo no o ba ye project kankan ye wo ho no yes o betra so so tia say airport company ho nyina say pacha airport company na national lottery squad ye wo mo wo sesi e squad ye ye mu ye twa lotto na mo de akoma private person no gidi mo buy ya na mo so chese akoye scratch my back let me scratch your back how can we behave in this country like that hey emre bi ba and what yes on the pa yeah the pa meburu Gen-Z after they are going omo they start here omo for grand say ministers and parliamentarians ba no mo exhibit lavish lifestyle now see we will deal with you omo start here over gra prime minister we bian and the parliament obi adwane esan say Gen-Z for na hu say mo pese mo de o brabo ediago there is no way as anyoma we o say makwan na ye wiaya ya obi anka ho hwe ti omo ti o ya hwe se obaka se owa bedi sa bodi se obe prosecute omo mante Mustafa Yusuf diwum owa bedi o mission mo fanshem esan se national service or no a chief executive officer ho the box stops with him ejino mo hwe na se mo ye ya na manashim Africa Games all Africa Games no bosso Electoral ya mbre mbiti foso kwako foso asare so all defend the expenditure hey kwako yes so nyina sports highlight una na wo ye na ya de na ma una se sika pudu say kwa mo ba dey defend nobody yet to me no watch $15 million okrom ha na nko form first can nko go face Ghana AC Takwa Sports Stadium right from scratch I promise so my penny like I said about a prototype ekoso wo mo $13 million University of Ghana Stadium is sure na esi1 wow akabe 16% Mustafa Yusuf in go for catch rest almost spending $34 million in complete keko Elizabeth say Liman sa hostel there stretch no na Alice da mo de condition ba ku mienu ko tata mu aboso ma boka $16 million ya bo na bo kroma na esan say e was some gofobi enye sika enya omotam we cannot continue to do behave like that hwede esi okokobon kotona beton one side bi di tonaton koko yi wo ho wo ma beton so di obusika ba jefa ko mo no yesi ya boka say almost 32 billion the managing company no what if you zero na obre ade no so obre rani what wa yadai wa busa questions o metro wa duru hono maninsu nya hoda kwa shodo obia are you with me
yeah
ejiro say ye yele sa I'm telling you say ya obo so oman no obia be se
be ka ne ho
be ka no na sika kakra na ebem ye nyina aso ye nyina de so does it not surprise you say yakobo business $750 million sika sa ekwan ya ye nye tamale to wale ye nya dia ni pete bia woni we mu aban yakufo do be connection no ma be mobilization of almost $30 million. Ekwaya oman koso sika omadi. Na palu good am there. $12 million. Buko change car of Bollywood boy. Na project amaso. How can we be doing this to ourselves? That is a krumano sika wa ha na ye we nyina wie na krono ne kankai na nipa na no eche jehini wo mu a yemfa ne mra Ghana no cha America ken ofuriata. Da be na ache na asem. Yes, Ghana said we can now trip.
Yeah.
What's this here? Akoda. And you always been a promises on the neighbor. And you can offer a lawyers in Eticroma, or the new Brofutro, a catcher said, May or Beba, May 1 month to June or Beba, I September.
September,
my Memphis, I can't just say, can offer a to American passport on my. Let us say, Boapayo. Shamesa, a course, and what the Bank of Ghana. Doctor in Sanitizing, you answer the BBNC Okroma. Hey, what to be printed is Gamma Broso. Sensible young opposition. Now, what about the National Cathedral? National Cathedral, stealing in the name of God. And now, no work commission, Deloitte and Tussauds, or Monfa management account near the Emrani. Can you money? And on the day, Gakra say you invested $97 million, not 58
not
million.
58.
Na ya sa nyoma we nyina da ye nimu a na so obi esori adope na ofiri makurase na oni akonya te so na oni eyi na mo sa hia gofu na mo from honorable sa na mo modam ade what is honorable about them say yi mu besi wa da mo be wi o ma ni sika eti ye ko ye nimu no o ma mpani emma ne nan sisi ho na attorney general se ba bi na ye odin na se o hondo do so a obetui atwe ho so hono do so na so bi na tata wa ka kire ye ne ni par kwa koyam e be chia yam se bibia so ye fine na se o ye idea de be press conference ba ko for me
na ye hu de
eko na me timelines because the only the chance ye nye se na o ye you when ye chance with press conferences na be
follow so na to aso sa
the only chance na come home tu je tu mu be me say hey ma say you person o twimidi
yeah
obia so e ma obi ntwe obi ndi
yeah
so tiase wontumi die say matese ma pene no no woka entumi ndai na we must be a lesson to what's apaluda so chem
na onya bill na say no akasa ma MPP ana ma akwatena yoku ama no
o say o mama na hu so sabi wo na jere ni nya adwuma wo chem me tie jere mi abi dia jere o kase ho apalu chem o na di no kra na mfa no o mo ja no so o mfa ba akonko abroje die ya no be hu so mu di akire o mo ja apalu chem ewi ase no sa gofo e ma ka kire mo se sa before mo no mo nam wo nya asem hwe esa se won ka krekra mo boam ye wi aye na obeye yi wo ma fa so ye outsider obeje a obe charge no agiko e no da so chem e de ti ye wo boani nyina no what about hanan die yi buffer stock
e no president boss so
e no e be koda be no
o se nyina ka ho
e sremo o ma beri e mebu no se wo de wa adwuma ama adwuma now to be Jesus ka chichi ngofo egu mu ade okay
e no ano no
go me wo se nya fort sikana ga be bia adwuma no na se ngofo ebutom afuna waje a o de ba be dey o ba be ya adwuma obosi e be ko yanim
okay innocent
yeah I think
so well real scholarship did no remuna fe area yemehwe NPP accusing police of selective justice
yeah I think scholarship crowd there no narrow down to scholarship you leave out a lot of stuff because here in some solo bobo so yeah you see it's a catalog of filthy incidents asikroma and some of the motivation who heighten advocacy and I'm for prior to elections and then as a forum there are a lot of people who joined advocacy even though now among your party people and then as a forum but they wanted something to be done about kwanya minor faso na enyunu because for instance, me started from scholarship secretariat. The whole essence of this scholarship secretariat, Kwame Nkrumah in his wisdom, no say, "Oh, ebi no how we good. Sika 70 no, yam famra na yam fan so mo aseno mo fanko. Ana say bia certain knowledge area be I imagine or minor ye lack in terms of personnel and the young will be training no umbra back na umber boying oko near my course within scholarship secretary under this Kingsley not parliament here or so your MP scholarship nan kasa ni omo disinchen and omo fa dey be self and short courses and 2 weeks management courses and you know ya wote hoyi ya tamwa na ya twa plane ticket amount na ya tamu ya do UK for 2 weeks na ya tua £4,000 as a school fees na ya amount £2,000 for didi wo buy a separate plane ticket the amount and in this particular way no a minus spend almost 51 million Ghana cedis me say eso chan why you me executive report eno ne so me de be ma solo so
yeah mambi
eno ne executive report because an audit was your friend saying conducted and na omo hwe kwan omo fa so a omo spend this sikaya make ho asemi and obahaya I say your friend saying unbudgeted expenditure. The program operator without approval budget lines or Ministry of Finance authorization. Total irregular expenditure is 51,305,985 and 998,158 pounds. And the aka just over 2,000, not £1 million. Hey. Oh yes. Sika within this short course, so I'm for a flatter around.
Abra ya wa Ghana form was scholarship.
No, na school there were entina na scholarship na can ta ho no Prez Mahama na ebetua no because sika na so mudi tua scholarship. They were using it to run short courses. Ebi ana sa abaya wo ya krono bia wo krom ha bia o ka ho bi sa gift o ware no okwaje bi e na o de call e na me do ba scholarship main proper no so a ono so ni kunu yes e fa ni Peter Mensa ono so kokwaje bi ena ya mane scholarship no ena yesi yamfa na yire nka ho ena yetua na yire allowance oh I'm telling you ena yetwa plenty kitama na yire ya makwabrane scholarship ya fra papa bi adutwi musahwan ya man scholarship na the man say wonkwa akwa enye nti kofa yire beka ho ena ode na yire beka omma miensa ena yakofa enkora miensa de beka ho enti enkora miensa no ye visa processing for each of them near 400 million our UK consult. Your company may say a Vibe consult, educational consult. Omo high omo. And per head, you know, UK will require priority working.
Yes,
5,000.
Yeah, 2,000.
Yes. Each head, 400 million for visa process. Take it in count.
We are man, they are thieves.
And to we are no more sabusian for no nyina no more sabu kotena UK. Enti papa na yetua no school fees ya man allowance. Ya man na yere allowance. Ya man ma allowance afibia yetua allowance man na nti oboto we didida on papa esua de na yetua na yere na maka. Na papa no te ho na say o wanya your friends family emergency e wo fie enti no scholarship secretary ensanto plenty kitimano na wanya family emergency no omra Ghana na omedi ni fie asem na on sign sabe ya na yere benya asum yasua de because
ada wo ye ode
yes because na yere yes scholarship enti no wa me solve family problem na me se anko baka na yere enya sound mind ensua de e na ocho letter by now so ye twa plenty kitimano who no ba Ghana ba ye ni family way e we na osanko akọ. Yeah.
Na ponya bi na.
I know see the old one.
Different.
Just na post you different.
Oh, you are different.
I just have from group no. I know you different.
New one we are making. New one we are making. Nana B Kwajibi.
What also GB?
Oh, Dr. Okoboy Kwajibi.
And scholarship.
And your friend.
And I say you brilliant by need.
Because Nana B Kwajibi na so what you scholarship no akwa na say one boy.
Na gift your one no oh yes CEO no timi ko this scholarship. So you see, me say who say Ghana for buafu and they want the attorney general to do something enye bibia keke o. And America no baby e kwa koduru enye party same bi na way. It is about saving the soul of this nation from the hands of these criminals who use their tenure to rob this country. Do you know a number of brilliant people who could have been given this opportunity but they were denied? And yeah, there is another group of people. Almost they say a ton scholarship no more.
Yeah.
Wow.
80,000.
No, was he can't call by scholarship.
So remember be said
Yes. Market.
£100,000
Yes. Oh, I know a lot of people. Now me post to social media. For sending people are willing to come out. Auto scholarship in 80,000. No, but some stipend no catch us akwasi. Oh, you try plenty time. You was a best compare you man yet. Just stipends no so kroma obudi e ko ba bia. So the whole scholarship we know was a criminal cartel and a more pretty and aside that they were using it to do visa racketeering.
Yeah.
Because yeah, obiti make us all 2 weeks. Yeah, fans 2 weeks short course. Near 10 year UK visa man near Chiaka. Now 2 weeks near 10 years visa movie. They are all in the document. And it's so filthy, it's so dirty. And I'm urging the Attorney General, say, you see, when you're pre-bargaining, because the mindset in a criminal, Nipani and Abin say, and Abranted, and no, they are quite parliament and they are and scholarship also or distributing or check Katio station. Media houses are Casifono or Mobiabi, just some Mobianca. Media houses a wokroma said or hewa no den na wa ma bi so amanfo akwa jejejeje okwa listen ma journalist akese omokroma finding what documents lim and issue no ba ho na be kan ma no and who raise scholarship issues a wo kan obi anka because no so ajibi
nti wo muwa.
So I think that the state must be very frontal, must be very radical. Now you go after this in the say I know the day say John Mahama dollar about 1 cedi na atop your friend say bas magana ni bia with you ko toilet kwate bas ma Ghana for will not be happy.
Yeah.
All that they want say nipa na mu wi aye sika no we want them to face prosecution and if possible jail them. Na yen sanje sika ade ya pa ne say nipa onim nyansa be wi no sanje sika na wanim.
Ya crack too much.
Obi a onim nyansa na ya na make us me going forward no I think that powers na ya dem president no yem pe kwan bi so na yem twa so.
Yeah.
Because I think that over the years they've been abusing that particular power in terms of discretion to appoint who to lead. Because for Akufo-Addo to appoint to be a kwakwa national service. Na national service nipa no oto so me bokro na krono na me bo no me the document enkra mo ye 1 year edi na share do. I just say nipa dey damp. That person is so damn to the unqualified for anything. Yes. So why would the president appoint such a damn person to such an institution? Because national service, you have 90-year-old person, you have social media, you have obi passport, you have obi picture.
Oh, Kenya.
Kenya ni na ya hwedi ya was here near the best documents na ya di Jessica. Kwabrani timi for national service enkura totofi wo mu ahiafo sika 700 a month.
Where national crisis?
Yes.
Where national crisis?
Na ya tiwa na ya pre-bargaining. Na ya tiwa na kasa bebre 8 months. No. Ghana for want some decisive action. You behu say we are going after these criminals and that is me say kasadodo on top of kasadodo bia o change the narrative. All that Ghana for pen say sa kro no akuo no e ko ba million. Exactly. And we say we need to activate some emergency way period where me say prosecution it should not be in Accra. Yen set up sunyan di domai di brekumu di drobu di across the country. Now you're making sure that within a space of maybe 6 months, you're finishing everything. Exactly. Because all these cases must be tried simultaneously. No one say you're serious. Because this is a national crisis. Emrantia ne mayo abro mo abre okroma emrantia mo na ma amanone enkwase adwuma se be nyese nipa na ye Ghana for eti abroche na amanone ye because ni krom nya de ni krom no so ye rich che your mind na otiso no ba kwabrane ewia sika ne stop Benz ni Bentley the man girlfriend ni na support na wotia na u di ohia all the difference between one and say or join a political party be and aba power na damfo na ye president or page na si ba bi na de bon kwase akra na de abewiaye me say ya nya careful ho ya democracy a yete ho ya ne last leg a ejina so a this John Mahama administration na say amanfo abamubu no mo withdraw trust na say na pa kra de omo president na ewoyie me say ohu ba bi a Jubilee House ni sini esi awiam na Ghana for sorry so mo ba side and side obi like Owusu Castran ka wonti bi mfira chire ma ba we ba bi esi no Ghana for gipu ye twa ho ahia. We must not get there. Because when anger begin boiling up in the way, so all that government will have to do is say, obey nema, ebe ma Ghana for akuma to mo yem no mo nya ahotoso se, ko ahotoso na nigie na Ghana for dokoto aba. We have the victory that John Mahama secure, show the trust and the belief Ghana for war. So I think say we need to repay Ghanaians by making sure say I understand you see the wheels of justice are grinding slowly, but you see, this is governance. You need to sustain trust and confidence. Man for abamunkobu enkonkoda. And now I'm for can ora crown on but first, now you are there again a lot of traction on social media. I think confidence must once again return. Now you demonstrate willingness through actions. We are not ready to compromise. We are unwavering in our resolve to go after these criminals, these unwitty criminals, these unintelligent criminals who use power to destroy and steal from this country. Now you're sending that message loud and clear to people. I'm not sure that anybody will take this nation for granted anymore. Because men make no mistake, Ghana is super rich.
Oh yes. You was capable.
Adia Sami Jemfiaye within this short period should tell you say Ghana is super rich. Gold board. If within 8 months, or to me generate over saying almost 6 billion. IMF Sikana Yakojana 3 billion.
3 billion.
Oh, yeah, the amount.
In trenches.
Yeah, the amount of trenches. Now, Sami Jemfi sitting at the office within 8 months to me generate 6 billion. A chance Sika Ukroma say, and we can do more.
And from small scale
alone.
Yeah.
I don't know. The amount a larger scale. I'm going to the court. They don't even pay their royalties. Go
after them.
So I think Gold Board should serve as an inspiration to us. We don't have to go with cap in hand begging. Sikano Okroma say Ghana is one of the richest countries. Near my UK and the size in Ghana when it comes to resources near my own. Now you make sure say resources near bon buying the board developer. Say near my I'm saying say even young person be only a Juma Okroma be a buying bet me to 5,000 a month. Yeah. Because the money is here, but kwabrane nye obewia and you see you have politics and say yeah nipa nya to your person raising who to a certain level who jira na say we aboa bi ma no and there be hu na yes masa honorable oh boss oh nana oh yes sir now we salute but we are leader and I say we rise to political prominence na say adwene ne ba wutima say man ni ntumpon da because man be ya the growth of nipa na wo mu omo no and na man no grow. So I think that we need to be guided. Now going forward, you're very ruthless in pursuing these criminals. Because at the end of the day, say Jessica and the that is the only thing we are looking out for. Because number of corruption cases are there. So just look at Cathedral Kakwadawo. Cathedral issue over 90 something. Yeti Kroma, I say police military nejet. Now, unfortunately, your friends say, Papa, you quite no more kwaku Yatam over 50 something million. I saw for dear Chile as a castle cacasia, saying Yankopon Casachiromo. Maybe say Yankopon Casachira wouldn't if she did Yansadi Ubi. Now for us so so we dance a bit in a kutu buying for the own Cosi Cathedral, one and crane and more, and Numinsu, I was him. And grandma, you are on a whole affair when young Cosco are crashing a Titi Kumasi, Yakaya. Now a software and Yankopon Casachero, so Numansa, see him Kutuamana. Na yanya garden na ye ve enkofa heavily food one more down some classes we crash you
only said the last time kwada musa say na scholarship secretariat Mahama si office mono ma omo baby omo etu amina no one was say baby omo bu ni nyina to gu
papa na bu ni nyina to gu asema ada the was mo so free
yes
I mean famous me ma so so nkwa so
these are amamboyefo ni se yeso so omo so asofo na omo di akire ni nyina ya amamboyefo. Because these are people who on Sunday basis, these are here for sitting in the church. Come the amount for. And the one I went to me to get closer to the president. For young Sasha, and say, oh, Papa, Cathedral and the young hold honor. Me come Sora here for a month for near Juma, a month for our travel. Ghana need to me the passport to concess of Mom Paimon to Quine. And young grandson about who to Quine could be crum, so I don't fancy the woman. But oh, here now dream tea. So for him Sadia way, but oh, dear Bayan to say Uncosi Cathedral. Now you have a boy a minimum kutu, me a board member. Now you say Pianaka at the expense of 4 people. Maybe bedroom, some of us will not respect. So we don't respect you because we also for you. Only because what they are supposed to do, that is not what they are supposed to do. That is not what they are doing. I think we must do things in such a way that you better build the hope and confidence in the estate. Sabaya Ghana ni benya hoto so say eto dia dia memman enyi mema. but on mine I team no wa be true bia because individuals pursue sikane na se for blaster na no buy e kwasi abaje to boye de kokoto ho obi so oya football management member o the team achi kwa ya man $10,000 wa bodam teacher need to akura se wa chira there for 30 good years or co pension 400 million ya man what kind of nonsense is this
winning bonus no o ma bo gwa na bo kra de bi elusu ya kwaji ka bo ya be kwa
na me say Ghana no hu ye obi ani team ya den na nka me say na because coach ni ya foul say be coach ni ya tia ka adwuma wo ye ntina ya na wo ko we na bonus be I won't pay you bonus sa $10,000 na me de back on off akwase teacher for kutu pass am fam kwa ya adwuma what kind of nonsense is this obi a onu di team na tia ya say oya mazoa all the way ya say man $8,000 do you know $8,000 obi ti baby a headmaster ne mpaboa to nyina we
was ye mfa nkoma football
ajapade ne life wanya aya bicycle minimum teacher for modo mo salary gem mo obi de bicycle bo so mebeso de oje kura nuru 1000 ye fancy 150 Ghana cedis
football
o kwa da bi ona na yere we bo ya so we because sika ni fie obi am obi a ntokwa pay car because of ni nyina ohia na oman ni wo sika obi ko mali aba o ye ko bobo na ye say ya time $8,000 because or the jesi be hye hanga so na da wo bodam yes ye fuel ya di gu basim $5,000
ana articulator
na je na no double boss e first keto kre
yes all defended
wakwa amani yi se obetwa kotetem
yes just na say hoye de yes hoye de na say bi jumbo jet kwa na
ye for football this year na ye start omo nsem because go this
GFA is a criminal cartel
go this
it's I like the approach your friends the minister now but I think say no he's a bit way very radical has to be very because he's dealing with criminals he's dealing with a bunch of criminals over the years they've weaponized the black stars as a cash cow yet to come me growing a football minimum has of focus and I had the G and ye young blaster ye but sa has to cut on ya 2 gumuram ko blaster near casca would dear chira now would the blaster chi World Cup now obi was a football management member I want $100,000 I like you $100,000 so yeah and you be life for why you na sika be $100,000
innocent
because
teacher for ko pension mo we
teacher for mo pension ya he
$8,000 Ghana
me papa pension o wu ye
wa bembu ba ku bi ba
ko headmaster enya he
ya ndu bi sa won say e be duru ba bi no hwan na betena sa kasa me be so mo man e dey na if nurses are living you should understand if doctors are living you should understand young people are living I think you see I think that the whole country na see collapsing yes and lay the foundation and no President Mahama can send me about this emolument and his explanation I love it because say yentimi nyan in such a way say political class be enjoy na man for go form now mo dey almost struggle because service obi I know a doctor oko your friend say oti theater from morning to evening
also already on article 71
article 71
yes the risk involved and there yana say nipa na wo ye ne surgery no kra onhu anim kra because sometimes you even cover your face now wada was say oh papa me da was say was save my life these are people who are sacrificing now what $8,000 say obi di ma komali ene gabon kwa ko border what kind of nonsense is I think we see it's okay
krono le do so matias de tia le buofu because so hwe me ba no pe hwe nkonfo ni mo kwa ho a encourage na so sorry anopa na se de wo tie nyina ne se we have fiscal no mu di kire and social media nti unya koto data no wa se ho mo de ye party asanso a kire me de me kan nyina ne se attorney general no man pen ye di nka di Easter baako o makoshe half o ma Easter second be ka ho a o be di mo ayi ni so ma fesika when am target banks mungu ko mfie ni moye ebi ma ye underground yi mo bi ka tank
ni ade
mo trace o teko so mo fa chere o ma girlfriends no ebi ko o ma girlfriend want to apartments adan ye wo kro
mo adan no so mo to mo fo mo di ntu
o me twa cho se bo so me so mo ne ko twa be so mo titam apartments e ko kro mo ya pese ba Kwa mansa ban Toby e ye wo mo na ewie sika mo to omo aso da ko hye India fo ye ewe enimu aso
omo ye mo sa kesi
yo mo ye Ghana fo na ewie sika ne show mo chi omo front keke we wo pese wo ya obetu achi wo immediately na ye nyini ni ya nkwada de nya ba bi na lego ahosa boy
ne body
ji we na she de nkwada nyina ba mu a na ye fe oti ase se ne be ya ye be koye no yes
what kind of country is this?
All right, we are live on Facebook, my CTVGH, or him Esther there, or say Debia or Baha Thursday because of Solode Ivan. They are only me, yes, I'm a new will soon you're fine. There's a one who base him Thursday and San Waba, then on anyway. I call him Esther, Medas, Papa Nelson, or say we need these guys every day on CTV. In fact, collapse all the guests you bring. Hey. Munya botena so lo oto no timi di misim na ma wa me broken heart.
And yes me no we gentleman and woman agreement.
O timi di misim na ma broken heart. At Ebenezer Motor say with all this now give to our worry has got an appointment in GFA and the Mahama government. In fact, okay, no, I didn't want to Prez was say good morning. I'm watching you live from Owusu. Madam, I say messages no adore pa. But send about your time no konya yenti no yenti min treaty we answer. Yet me sorry. Me sati anu free solo ho. What NPP accuse Ghana Police Service of being selective prosecution, arrest and other things because of conform what TikTok near mo keka ye cheche wo mo and recently abronye dia ya che no and na no so mo de ne court. We hu executives ni bi commotion mo court so wo ho. Na afen so internal elections in the moyere say ba umia eso true challenge person o kan mi no bom o say wo mo so mo sika no a wo mo na bo a party no e yo no ne hard work o ye no 2016 na mo di win power and na mo benya say sika no 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 so kra no wa contribute to call to topic at 300 to sika ne ade o wo no so wa contribute to be a fine nti
ma men share free MB before you can say
selective
yeah I no cry because I selective yanka afenyo markets ba na kotwiru talk as oko to the saw
abu police ni no
they selective so they are right and yes selective we yako social media say here omonkofo na hate speech if they way say eda meno kasenka oyene bia to ku omano kura that was why atoyan champ to omano apalu abeka say your friend say
nkura na eden
one thing omongo for so go zoom here fancy comedy ni say na omo ka say o mampeni na o se ko wu ni ade ti selective yi wo ho sort as jaji bi we de ti omo futuo no na sa so numu ye they are telling you say bebre na gu ho o so obesisa you can't tell me say what sorry anopa abronya wo de si wo so say IGP in some can me repeat
yeah it's so
what did attempt to the sense say for no reason
yeah
na yeah you buy to what's it
member
me wa
Siki Asalam
wako upe sisi connection is a new style of the Dubai no
I know we I know we
sisi ya who dey go for set up private studios no
yeah I want
sisi we be dia temo no wa track o back o person ko Canada wa ka catch us up asala we tata o wa na tata obi okromwa wo ye tata ka le bia benya kwa kwatena so ekromo obi aka Canada
yeah
and sad ye we will protect it ba ko di bone wo mu a don't expect say wo mo edi akire ni nyira no de bia me ka say the party ni nya akono ana o the party ko opposition a bu ni adwuma bia yo sisi o mu nyira chichifi o enti o sorry ade o mo pa se ka he bi beba no ma ko di akire dia ko benya media fo ye interview o mo no de achechire re that is all to it obi adu wo adwuma so tia say eno ntiro if you say the security authorities and the mrano enya adwuma so access to the lawyers omonya na omde the court so the law is what
the law
enti abronye ene nkofo enti asiesa yamra oraba omia ne nsem ne omo campaign you see about 2 weeks ago on another platform that morning I'm in Ivan also joy prime na abranche friend Awa Muhammad. You see only facts. Nkwara bebre na ba media space a. Obviously before say baby no, then we know what we are talking about.
Yeah.
The catch here say MPP no egu. Because the very foundation na Emma Kwame Sikasem emedi ihini wo mu no. Oma say no. Se Sikasem na dey MPP leader. And there was nowhere Professor Dubois ebetwa be the flag bearer of the party. Essentially go home. And the cry into obi more than 20,000 ho.
Yeah.
So I say.
Yeah.
So no, Sika anana MPP decide who Lisa Kaje for there was no way because that enkoyi. Ekufo the boy oh ya babao ni masasi ya king enkoyi. So I say. But because of that in the party no that carefully educate political party biano e was said yes say o members etuaduce and the more we are part of the cake. By some say wenum eba be mu 2000 bebre na tum nya sika hye omo so anomu say the only way between yi bebre free say you best start to introduce sika into the politics of MPP and to the extent NDC because almost AB
almost have a copy
eti sika be mu no omo ne wa bi ni nyina wo mu nyina no kakra omo pam omo free party ni say anti omo tumi contest either to be a parliamentary candidate or a flag bearer of the MPP no you must be a millionaire. Ano mo dia yesa na bedru ubebu sa say me ora ba mi abra fa no mi hu no
yeah ye nyina ye
oboko ye fake card na me ho o free Bank of Ghana yeah you bet you go Bank of Ghana ni akoje the salary ni calculate and the Japan na ba mi awo capre he didn't have Oba ye Nigeria resources a tower 22,008 sika a core campaign bebre na ebe shell. From there, when did you MPP do say in opposition what's the what I year campaign amomu in 2016 me eduma me year 2016 o ye mu half. Kasa kra na nimka. Kasa first no mo the gabi dey gabi or one or cancel or what to fuba. Kofo ye adwuma look afoko
yeah
crab system omo di gu ho komle Japan ya me money because ono after thought me so wa nya baw because ono no until we asinase for the first time afoko mobile no na sika ko constituency account so direct instead of say e be say region for so mo US can
okay
under the general economic outlook Satam obi at the sumu 4 years how are you going to convince the person? Say on to Abama NDCBO. So the general to say before ya a buy of their pamon, say before the buy and a party no about part 27 about when young hot time and over the cap was a whisker. Hey, I make us all might be serious about now. You investigated so oh that's a whisker. To investigate you the source of your money because oh you're the vice president of the land with the only source of income. But now, say investigating. Clearly, now you are not feeling more. No, can I get Japan so? How did he get his money? And acquire Sika competition contest.
Serious.
Offering us one about Brian so. How did he get his money? Na wakwa du twum so ofura America ba se na de buy o buy na be dada Ghana for say west school kakra ka bi America o go see no
o sa na enye no kro
o fa so school bay teti wona mo kwa America ba sa na ye ti groma no be ka tre se e before nyira ye sikafo data kuna do apreku ne se babaw o ska ka be jaw no school kakra ba be se o be di deputy minister of education Ghana Odo Benko, Odo Ghana Gafriako in the first place. For you to come back. Then go ye. But what be them who are bem? And to fund and ye.
Yeah. I don't know.
What they are doing is to insult our intelligence. Say, Omo, or mind the man, one of crime on Bedi, and you know, oh, yes, go over the Yansa say. On the basis of this, I say Ghana for a pamon. Now, nobody is giving any credible message.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Me na me
told we so on the tier 3 million towards national conference. We so on the tier 500,000. We say but me asking I'm tier 7.5 million. I mean how? Is that what the country is looking for? Makase enchekra ebeguto kojuto. By the 31st of January no. Na ase kra. Esanse grassroots no maybe obuko bi am home. There is no enthusiasm. Oko bomo dia piska kakra mama no betra o de ahwe mani most of them say so hey na wo na you free power me menya hwe every day was be gina o da da bi wo tumi go gina o say kakra bi go wo yo ko komate mo ma de baby papa kra da o say kakra bi go wo na eye MPP nti da akoko gi sika puduo e de contract awanye no and that's how pen be class. Yeah. Because now pen be that's more. Uchi says carrot be yagma. Anamwa.
Pepe.
And the party no is in disarray. Share o person be able to franca ewo o party so. You are charging the person 4.6 million. That was the day I award me a manso. Or no catch say I didn't know what I was about. I was hey. And don't know Afro Tigari. Canada Japan pardon them was look make up file me your man me tia me did got 100,000 ko e one of me issue a draft of 500,000 but why ye ka ya no executive akobeka chief say director we fee 4 million no say a body pusa and then was the development fee and one of the deadline also one go tia ke yi free and now me no ka say matesa kwabere Japan e kem say sika dia no ashi
want me tia
na kwabra tua be mo pa kwabra bu tie mi ye wa busuafo du krofo tie wu enkoye mi shaking for 47 billion enko sa grow wem na konya sika no yi
ade ko mo to man
akwabra le so onya 1% kwa
mo to man
na wa ko bosa aka we ade ni mo hu ye why dey
wa twe ne ho
se enyini akakra odi o ntumi fese sika no e ma mehim enti eyade a e deliberate yakọ opposition obedwino sika ho tie nyum free we ne o sika no ne enko na say sa party obetwa dom tibika cho say buawi a na o kasa eti munya no mo
innocent
yeah I think some na yakano Debia is the same thing MPP as a political party and you're ready say obesua there or the minimum say party lose power over China you build internal structures a bit in sustaining party in terms of credibility if amanfo behu said the nema esiko and even so by a contest against established rules of engagement yenim say your bottom up approach na for convenience sake obey ni bibi kra na your message na asefo a wo de kan ye nema beto amanfo asum nipa na wo present no should be individuals asabi animonyam ne some nimdie bi will come to bear but we tie conversation na cause that's far na said na solo sika a money contest
yeah
na me wo sika chen when na me yes na me finance when na nipa no nyina no so mu go na profile mo say answer na obi e be wura politics im no na ne sika sam yesan ko ya te say ebinu se no mu twi taxi e wo America na se for nti taxi na twi no America no mo da billionaire e dey because in mama for mu twi taxi wo America e bia wo kɔ no hokra ko bisa na ne so mpe $100,000 ma onya bi
100
we no ka me da maka
$10,000
yeah yeah politics yeah kan ya fuya na nkrofo ne na namu a no mo de afa kwan bi so awi o man ni sika de begina bi mo gina na mo di dwo mo num obe kasa unya taxi na wutwi a ba ko wo me yase no no aduane ma America soldier for yi no America soldier for sika se ne etua wa wo bia wo no aduane wa kitchen ni sika be na benya na ba kroma kasa ye billionaire no you see a chiro say your framework ne na sefo num nyina ye very weak ene obia sorry a adupim so president di onu hu na I think say onko Pentecost de kin bi ni na oh na you is a president onko pesofu bi ni o ba bi na president agro na di so I say you chiefing the whole thing as agro bi na edi you understand yeah obia wo do betimi aye wan kasa study na ho ho a onye president de kin bi Sunday no wa bo tie na gina Sunday na wo preach nyame asem ene ba bo ano dan say aba ne na ma so president de ono ahwe ma president Fatao. I think we need to get serious. And yeah, Sana baba ye. Sa we wadwen say party no won chichiri ne ye ntoto ne ma mfa ne ma nsi ya. Amanfo de bedi agro. And I'm sure say serious minds out there watching the MPP from a distance. Now no metie papa Kwame Mpiani ma na oye interview. He shocked say a party MPP omunim party of intellectual and na ba beduru say Inti everything bi omo ye bia bu abam enhye nkuran ne nasefo no and kwan no mo nam so no I say ye fan say bosom so obeku ade obeye bi obeku we ya no hwea enye they are not ready to listen to wisdom inti kwan no mo nam so no eno no mo nam so ye say we see emusuo kwan so a wonan se ha ka na watu a wode koru ko ye be stop police ni kura stop won't stop it until some ko nothing will stop you and that's exactly what they are doing. So for me I'm not surprised kwan no mo nam so no ehun awie ye no mbekwa omonsa beka and party no my imagine so mo betwitwi form na no utie omo youth organizers na se for radio so omo chese nsem omo kan kwa bizan se an MPP en na me ba ne se na mo kisa nkrofo we ye omo executive na nsem omo kan to asumu nti I think say omo ankasa tena so obo hu de ye kan ya ebetu omo for and then on abronye ne na se for no you see me I believe in your friend is saying ya mo bia kwanya na onka na dwen ne na se for no but over the years sa na ya mo bia ya but if he speaking no must also come with a certain responsibility. And I am not sure, say, Abronye Didi, your friend saying, IGP atama, and until I'm quite no, because the president, the president did attempt. What I say. So, and yet attempt did it. Now, there is a criminal aspect of it, or alleged say. There has been a pollution. So this is the your friend is saying, Obi order police for you now, bambano. Now, so Timine and this for Kwashaku Jessica. Endanger national security. That is the aspect people are not looking at. Because the whole IGP no on a police force no timi ko wura kokuam and NDC for ko bribona. It means say he can do a lot of things about putting the country in danger. And who can some be responsible? Now who say some na who can who nyina so. Enya atem didie keke na say obi di IGP atema IGP me just so obi be di na atema ka say na say onye okay a obetim di nipa na court. Enti enya atem didi asem na mom nsem na ewuwo no na nsem akoso in the past cry na sanka aban na serious I say na no Canada Japan tape ya na make kan wasem ya be hye ate dum ketia ya be hye wine na sefo no sansem we bia we can even reverse some of these issues because these are criminal verbal rhetorics that were in the past na sefo no but nipa na kan sem we nyina for mu hodi and I think say you see in as much as I respect Obia, yet here there be Obia Canagio. Now what say about transfer cars Obia Crackers and withdraw that. Because I'm not mechano, I speak it responsibly. Imagine one son of my cash and as some minimum whole way, men come once. There be our boy bit miss and no mess Okako can miss me breaking news. And so open news to the Bobia. Fakoma breaking news. Maybe I say, me ba with the idea, mammy, I'll analyze. I don't break news. As some people have my but men come once because never you man or not. Maybe I say me analyzing there. What I say. So I think that these are some of the things that we need to learn. Because yen to me metana space no so make can say be am fire hundi because baby do na social media no be at so. Asem bi how can one can here it may trigger a wave of violence. One hwe here. Ebebo man na kwakoto amenam. And you see these people are jokers. Do you know why? They forgotten say ye beto aba no NDC communicator bi wo branch organizer e wo Kaswa side ho kan say or ye fan say ombebu IG odidi IGP atem. Ena osan threaten sa papa we ya Greater Accra Regional Minister Kyei yes Henry Kote
Big Daddy
that abranted the prison for 10 good years or them for 10 no yes yeah jailing 10 good years under MPP so afenyo marking I don't know freedom of speech. But it must come with responsibility. This is why I say answer about take a course upon yourself, not sanate. Now you sober reflection, not be some questions because this gentleman I make or them 10 years. 10 years so NDC aba, but we didn't know that so them. But now he was speaking for NDC. So in some now can penny na so nyansa woman nipa kan bia ma. Enti abronya se bi nsam hunu ni nkwase akeka ote nneema so na all kan oba enti obi ahu. And this is a guy over the years, you know. This is the name rising into prominence. And yes, some men are bringing that kind of politics. And yes, I'm Kasakasa, we are kind of man for so. Yes, so. Can these people will even be mentioning them in our politics? Ghana, and you better do a point. I can't Kasasema then. Now man for a fans. Now free so once what do ne na se for them. The first time or the bar political space yes okochi idwan ko bo bia. That is the origin you know. Na nipa na odi we na chance here no. He fan odi ko wie. That is the question you should be asking. But you have rewarded him as a party by giving him a regional chairman.
Yeah.
Regional.
Regional ko no na MP before 11 seats. Anna NDC or one. See, I butu.
As a kawan.
NDC or 11 or no. Where the part?
Yeah. So these are the people. And in Nemana shall say a caution. Nena se for them. Na young who say Nipana Samna Okano. You are here in some way you know so me say about TV so channel or Didi Mahama person at Tema. Yeah, president can decide to forgive you because at time there we a leader you need to have a tough skin as a for. But when you venture into a realm what security implications are. I am not sure say John Mahama back so be didn't attempt I'm not sure. What I say because we a leader some of these things are some of the inconveniences that come with it and President Mills and never more the Kuruma say how the ordinary would call it never more the no. So it's not about say we didn't panatem na some na wo kano our criminal connotation our alleged bit me incited violence because yet your mind as IGP could di ekwaje bribe na e no kresa wo kaya Ochina Okojina command police now reason betie no. The authority will bring it to way. So I think that we must be guided in as much as I advocate people should feel free and speak their mind because I say kasa we the church of mind. We must also know our limits and you who can for so you can sebno seba ya yanko kan sama ye ni hu nyina so na semba omfra ya ya ba ye hwan ni hwan ni what is so ye hero yi and na why a mute now your friends are all run the court to koba because of the why judge could have given you bail but however abraba what they start here about doing that because sometimes you know it's not about peculiar case when you be some lawyers defending na your casa or your friends first offender nanka the on your life previous but the why the judge not
for her husband and daughter during private holiday trip in 2023.
About 20 now there was this deliberate attempt to sway the general public from the actual issues now you're dabbling in trivialities. You're saying procedural infractions. Titi me human rights so but the key underpinning issues are nipano afa pen ni paper actual at the competition you lose focus on. And I felt we go through petition man there was no way yembam be through when you are focusing on the substance because petition na let me make it clear say a muba ko pe and a Chief Justice and free ho. Mienu na aka no has been suspended because nipa na omode petition no call and say omon twan so kakra ma omo. Enti petition 3 na ekoye no emu ba ko pe I am Mr. Daniel Ofori the petition. He stated more than 21 cases of misbehavior and 4 cases of incompetence. And to Kaboma, one and number 25 different allegations. About 21 plus 4 will be 26 25 specific allegations and on the board Chief Justice. So now I was expecting that Chief Justice best spending much time now we're dealing with some of the issues rather than dabbling in this trivialities. Yes, I have listened to a lot of conversations I so after Sanema way see. But as at now, Minyanti Obia what me pontificate at some constitutional infractions, irregularities, circumventing medias, nobody, including lawyers and your friends, all that they are preaching, moral him and more to president, but we are forgetting about the fact that the judiciary is one of the most sensitive organ. Your friends saying, your constitution, and people who are sent there, must discharge their responsibility with integrity, with fairness, with neutrality, with impartiality, and with some way be and let me also say there is no single position under any constitutional rule anywhere in the world that will enjoy absolute power. because constitutional framers even in the US envisage the possibility of nipa na yedene and nipa no can engage, do the excesses about impugning the integrity. It's the reason why every constitution creating window say in an event, because position na yede kon anye nyankopon na better now nipa and nipa is liable for a lot of things. So the constitutional framers created a window say yeti anye ye ne yakofo obi ba na odi nsem hu na o meka yeso na mo ebetimi afa kwan bi so be yi na firi ho, and there is no constitution that is going to be written even in the future ebeyi that particular clause na firi ho, because say am not here even the president di nsem hu na parliament has been given power to take the president out. So those of you saying say at yen tightening constitution say be in the future no, are you also admonishing say the future people will be responsible? Because say nipa no bana or behave in a reckless fashion. Now why ironclad in the position now, you are indemnifying the person to do nasty stuff. You understand? So instead of cautioning and as making sure say you build the firewall around the position chief justice, you know, why don't we build a firewall around the individual's attitude and the behavior? Say whoever comes in, will come with a refined behavior attitude and could trigger this whole thing. So we have a near my cause petition papa na de call, President Mahama my catcher says it's just a conveying belt. That particular petition and or the Council of State as the Constitution stipulates. Council of State, my catcher says has never been an adjudicatory body. How could you or more the say Constitution is your Constitution, the Constitution says that the President will refer the petition to the Council of State. Council of State, there is no law be what Ghana I laid down procedures what the Council of State must do, or the processes and everything that they need to go through. All that they need to do is review the petition and see say premier facie a woman has to establish the substance. The processes involved over the years, Obian Hunyan yen laid down procedures, and I am for certain constitutional instruments. Now yen regularize that particular provision into say a Casa President and forward the petition, comma Council of State. These are the step-by-step process that the Council of State need to go through. Say there is none. So for Yakufuya na no dem day. She was a Chief Justice. She saw that particular provision that she had opportunity to ensure say you regularize that particular provision, because you can say you petition fan come Council of State. At the end of Council of State, But Council of State, they are not judges, they are not lawyers. In as much as we have former we will it's not a legal entity. So all that they will do per why I said in the Constitution laid down 3 areas. And as a 3 grounds of betting for Chief Justice misbehavior, incompetence, and 1. The last one is infirmity, both body and mind. These are threatened. And so what they come about in this on assess here, they are going to assess the competence of the petition in the face of these 3 grounds. Beyond that, because it is not a legal body. So when the Chief Justice started making noise, he said, and a premier facie ruling, ruling bang. Because that particular committee, that particular Council of State, it is not an adjudicatory body. I ruling the amount copy na kind again. I sat here, I told you at that stage, and this is because that particular process, and your adversarial process, advances some adverse finding be against you. Now, assessing the competence of the petition to know, say, within the threshold of the Constitution, if it's say a passing that stage, then a proper adjudicatory process will be set in place, and that is what the president did. So that is why I told you, say, arguments and the Chief Justice making it did make sense. None of them make sense, but now I went through in a way. CV, you could see, say, I understand why she was making those weird arguments. And then I said, for I wasn't surprised because you see, so we had an interpretation or the two, so funny and very mind-boggling because Council of State here in then they refer back to the president. Then if you go to the Constitution, Article 146. I think that it's 10A or 10 something. Is there? Who got 146 downwards now? I will say, Council of State kase petition or grounds. President wa Kenya. Say oba set up a committee. I'm a committee, I investigate yeah, it's a we can call it quasi judicial or semi-judicial process. Including 2 high Supreme Court judges and other people, they are all 5. Better as a media sem. Nasasa no koswa. Constitution expressly says the president Kenya to sign a warrant suspending the Chief Justice pending that particular process. So it wasn't said Mahama Dasori also suspend the Chief Justice. A constitutional, discretionary constitutional way, president only, and only he could exercise that. He decided, and Mahama isn't the first person to sign that particular warrant. Makacho said, in the case Justice Derry and 4 others, when Anas accused them and the process was ongoing, when Premier Fasia was established in their case, President Akufo-Addo signed a warrant and suspended these 4 justices pending investigation. And that's exactly what Mahama did. So investigation that's a woody for. Then the constitution will make that the committee will make the recommendation and the president will follow suit. And don't forget, the president is binded by the constitution, by the committee's recommendation. That is what the constitution says. So me beside me who say in all this process, a man for a year no and a President Mahama has circumvented any of the laid down procedures. I bet you can say, in the first place, my country said, no precedent under our current constitutional arrangement and the will to me to dismiss or sack any Chief Justice. You don't have it. But his power of removal only becomes active when an aggrieved Ghanaian has sent a petition to him. So on removal will be not a grounds near legitimate. The president has a sworn duty to follow through. And yes, you pick and choose. Open as a man, the president is mandated. Why, yes, it could be a ground for him to be removed. And our issues near go to near Babedua. And I zoom down to the petition. I can't want them. So, what's here in summer a woman specific allegations. Now, one has to do with this pedium thing. You see, my catcher said the Chief Justice is not just a Chief Justice or Supreme Court. You are also the administrative head of the entire judiciary of this country. Integrity, honesty is something that you cannot toy with it. Then the constitution, judicial service. Asamna air cost na ya man for free say Mahama ba na omako within same no mo do so amane da binya sanete. Audit na ye kasa wa fasika no. Ya asama asi I think somewhere 2023. Ena aya Ghana audit service. Ghana audit service. Eko hoko audit ye. And they find these things and they flag it as irregularities. So it is not Daniel for only chance on that particular thing and included it in his petition. But the Chief Justice had already been found to have misconducted herself in this manner in the audit report. Audit report now in the audit report, she was found to say was misconducting in the usage of that particular money because the constitution says so call private traveler. State in betua because we are Chief Justice. Yen to mean jail say your private kwananam. Enti dia wo ko be betua ma. Namom enam say we are Chief Justice enti na still what access to the corridors of power enti no. So won kwa wonam abonten wa America na so obi ko chew sesia na say won kwa okomiemia wa wan hwe ya ye secret ya wo ubeda na di akire obi. And in the wisdom of Yamran yesterday ya wo kwa for security di wachi sebaya wo endanger the national security and I say security be na asefo be ana obi nko for so ma nko sign document bi be because won kwa na wonam enti for security we see amanfo interpret this thing a track but it's what it means because in our law no ye nya de bia just for fun and your Chief Justice say no ho afenti na na soja ni wachi no and yet because of this because we a Chief Justice obetimi akofo so ma ko sign just a whole lot of niema obetimi aye na wan for so kwa no omumiemia okon na say Ghana security ukokeka say be higher
yeah national security
exactly so mo shemra na say o kwa for security di wachi na woni ne nko on na ni ateche nipa bia and security na mede ne economy ne betena nche na mede meba muma akọ. Common sense should tell you say this way is unacceptable coming from somebody who is supposed to discharge integrity at the uttermost level. I the Chief Justice of this country. Yahweh sir, you may sit somewhere and say oh wait there, but beneath it, within you, it tells you the kind of person you are. And now we security in China or then the ballot ni ko US no anye just take it like an automan no take it na man for top business class akese no then that take it was upgraded minim so kwatena play no I win no so dia minim and I said the pilot no for no kwatena pilot akonwa so because yeah she paid over 1 billion in take it and on the ko US 1 billion how many young ladies say me bana me nam krom na me hu enkora mayo o mo so pia wata akora hye na chia na me wura ho. But because Obi, na mama chief justice intino, take it na ya ta man ya say upgrade and bia alupre no wins no na kwatena so bia upgrade ya be free pray no kwatena we him and I never parachute na ya business class I upgrade there say oba kwatena pray
na
pam na obi ahu say na member no chief justice daughter. Yeah, and a boss akawe.
Yeah.
Okoye no, no sentia per diem every day.
I said the okoye bibia mai.
Exactly. You don't do this. Common sense will tell you that sadie we are is not in line with even principles of your father. Nema yedi adwuma. But she breached these things. Anya ba kope. There no samba biem no oko Tanzania. Ano no so security no police ni bi obi ohia ni ba bi asabi nko obedi wachi anka ono so benya dollar na kakra ti na chi no and ono so tam si nchen na wotam ukunu de sim and at the same entitlements no wotam dem ano and if a chief justice can do some of these things in security do you know do obetimi aye and can you trust this person to be dispensing justice? These are some of the things man for the emotions I can say hunu. These are the key issues, and there are other issues. I mean, I don't want to even tackle it. You say, "Oh, award judicial service now, award contract." Common sense will tell you some of these things. You don't do it anywhere. And chair and I hear Kufuor form about this family and friends conflict of interest. You don't do these things, and these are some of the things that she did. So for Yakofu, is she aware? And you see, these people are hypocrites. And you know what? Obia oya worried about Tokono will go through the process constitutional problem because she couldn't pontificate at a single constitutional infraction occasion. I will go through a constitutional process not seeing the buafu or you're worried about not on your worried about President Akufo-Addo or Tamobia or your MPP ni our contest our whole central what fairly na ya tam na kosi Supreme Court we your man boy for. You know that when the judiciary became so dirty in this country, and some of us were all over talking about it, post beyond Ben Abontimbi and said that we were losing the judiciary. It became so dirty to the sense that people didn't want to associate. Social media and other platforms are enough ruling every Supreme Court babontia. Ordinary person to know to say anyansa ni ruling and krana ma ya na sempanim for. Obakwana nipa omonyi about the platform and a woman that particular ruling. Because how do you tell me say traveling passport can vindicate and as a bit here Ghana ni but the innate birth certificate no cannot. When the event said adi adobakwa passport no your birth certificate and several other rulings asem no court you can predict ma me no ense date be ma asem no twam asem bi kwa ade chi ya no wa date. When you do some of these things you don't inspire confidence, you don't engender trust and hope in the institution, and the nema na all yen nyina was to destroy the fabrics of our judiciary. So for Yakufu, I think that some of these people, we just need to excuse them, and you can understand her. Then as a forum, until so betting about boss, any or she's entitled to her opinion, and as a forum, I respect her for expressing her opinion. Yeah, again, so what case in you say just question issue no, but better I can't your petition no. Omote court way dear Samad, omo hands national security for Abawura ho. Na ye two computer, na ye two way, judge to hold dear Samo, ye mo bia no say ye 222. Omo 22 we na emrantia na omo teto na ye santam omo do omo call national security. Ko mia omo menim do omo de say Ghana head do call national security adu de ye wo. Say omo tempered evidence ne na se for no. And sa nkrofo we wo omo kokotena afie. Emma ye set up a committee by the Judicial Council at na se hwe hu say adwuma amudi di nkrofo omuni for enti munja mo no momra back omo ba ya na ma me transfer no to Tamale ofa we ya na transfer no to her for Christ's sake. Judicial ma me ajapade na enye papa ajapade na what how dey this ansem hunu no These people na committee na exonerate you should even apologize to them for mistreating them. So as a boss of an institution, you cannot be doing some of these things. And these are the realities. Ghana, these are some of the things she did on personal level. So if a chief justice can be behaving in this highly reprehensible manner, can you trust that person to head the judiciary? And the funny aspect, you see, some of the professors in this country, you see, sometimes I am Mumiano, Casano Yardoson. You see, Metese will be say, Yayinikeke as a chief justice. Now, waiting, I'll go back to the bench. And Krasem way, how can you? I am Mugumanumas and Munyas and Neman and I'm Craniatio. Yes, yes, yeah. So these are some of the things that or transfer amount for not what transfer away, no what transfer away. And the cases in Mijawa, I think that there are a lot of for Diabon with me. So I was looking at a point that somebody will wake up and say, oh, allegations no more raising a frivolous. Allegations no any substance. But my man spending the time, even breaking the law the more. The last time I told you say petition way and go through on one casa occasion another grounds for her removal because so what kind of constitution now? Okachiro say this whole process must be heard in camera. Meaning say and yes who offending I see and heard in camera. It's because of the sanctity of the institution, Constitutional framework started why say making sure say near my air cost because IGP in the way some of the hearing was done in camera. Because of how sensitive some of these things are and assembly SCN camera Chief Justice is angry because of free said John Mahama and NDC for a hound and we see some now all can sometimes it's funny. Now what time petition and then cut and in TV so your press conference are you emotionally intelligent? Can you trust that person to be your Chief Justice? Now say do you know what that person can do? And we see some of these signs show some level of intellectual weakness, how emotionally the person is unstable, and why you cannot trust such a person. Because this is a person who has demonstrated being an open court, an open banter between on it. Your friend said, so police in here or a lawyer, a cologo. And that banter on it, Sabia Menoti, I sideline in Yantana, Wafre police for someone channel. Because when I walk to me, and Utie, a man for Muno court room where I never come with the body say, oh, Munipa. We see there are certain category of people they look down on people. As a men a macro school now there now we don't when I say about public who so chin oh as a obi there ya aboa bi maka tell say ya say aboa na ntakra na man ya fan say kese wherever you are bia nipo mo twa ho ahia and you cannot look down on people, impugn people, and things that you can rise. Now, okay, now, we rise by lifting others. I never inspire me a lot. But our people don't see some of these things or get into a position. But now, say, oh, he's the new God in town, so better than Obia. You don't do these things. Because Ron is here, wish Esha for more. When you Ghana, so it doesn't matter where you are. Ubeja position no hako. Remember the say even say 1 minute grant abenya be good, treat people well. Sabi obi ba kan ho asem ye. But judicial service no one kasa ni nkro for kra no could not even stand in for her because they wanted her out. And again, so who any behavior the relationship between Ono and the other judges. This is a woman all the asem no court no. Or say your friend is saying justice for other people and yet your friend is saying and they cannot be fair. So the administrative head of the judiciary is saying over the years only people they have the potency to be biased and she knows they are biased. And now I said I can be biased right now. Bias be and then so far Akufu is saying, oh, the process is not fair. And I prefer we Chief Justice, not constitution and China and Rao. And I'm a boy. And I had the free China and the buy and the constitution has been there. You apply and you use a lot to say demand coffee. You the lamte. Mahusa Amon for says a novelty, it's not a novelty. This particular process has been applied. You see, individuals no musishim no, and they're different. But the process has for long been used in this country. So maybe some amena. Ordinam na enya fair no toko no bae no na ona no ya akra Supreme Court na ni mpanimfo ponamine na se for you know but she was handpicked by president to become a chief justice. So was it fair?
No.
So there's no argument of fair bang. Because constitution has been there. We are only applying it. So our lawyers today telling us we must jettison the constitution and begin to say so yamfa emotions and as yamfa nipa me pen asem na asefo na nya na emra ono na kan say the law is the law.
It's the law.
So me, I don't have any issue, and people who are saying that a bad president in the future. So obi be chief justice not na no din semhuna. Mahama appoint obi so chief justice. Na oba na o sha say din semhuna. Afan foforo ba yenyinum yo no.
Onu kra be kai say semhuna mi di mra wo.
Exactly. So those talking about president, you see, they are just jumping over the whole discussion. We should be looking at quality in the discharge of our duty.
Sure.
Now what's another year you might have a kasi pamo. Now say Mahama ba independent bodies enya we nkwana ho. Akua ma so ye na dwuma. Ono o perceive o pe area ba ko a na asem wo ho pa na manfo free say Mahama bo be pam no na ye the auditor general. Ba ko mo ye na dwuma.
O ye na dwuma.
Mami animguasifo yo mugu electoral commission so mo yo mo dwuma. So it's not as if say obi tan obi anase obi ye we ade na edi wa diu. Nsam no wunya kwanya efra amanfo mo ko testify na so ni nyina amfa because you couldn't prove say why I walk private warrior. Yes say for security di wachi you endanger national security. China obi anchew. And force no obi amforso but anka 2 occasion obi forso wa nka be put everybody in Ghana in danger. That is the gravity of nsama yeka. And people ignorantly see someone say nsam no mo kan no ano nyade na nka ontwese kan kotwa obi ti ansa. Ontwese kan kotwa obi ti e wo ho ansa na yehu asam no. You see, we play too much in this country. So me from where I sit, I have for long been worried about the sanctity of your judiciary. And over the years, you know, say your judiciary had the gatam. Kwanya ye faswa na ye sisa manfo koguso. Kwanya appointment and nyansa anima na ye. It got to a point that Ghana for any ahotoso e wo ye courtum. E saying amanfo ye solve it. I don't for ye be. Menim some platform run and some other platform run now you see bastardization, insult, our mother put on the most sensitive institution. Judiciary was subjected to public mortification, ridicule. But yes, subject of public ridicule. Unanimous 3, unanimous 4. This is the judiciary. Sophia Akufu, she wasn't worried about that. She wasn't worried about the fact that a failed parliamentary candidate was appointed to sit on the bench. She wasn't worried, say, among for the Asama court, say, Yam Freda, a phenomenon can the following day. And portrayed by us, judiciary no be a busia japadia, now but now by Din Semhunu. Mahama appointed to be Ochana. Now Obano Bedin Semhuna. We will rise against the person and get the person out. And I'm against those who are saying we should amend the constitution and make sure it becomes impossible. Now say you could obino chono din Semhuna. And the person will terrorize the entire nation. Exactly. So we need to make it flexible to do the right thing.
Exactly.
And some year what petition 21 specific allegations of misbehavior. Menyada je kram go through. Konsam na ewo mu no e bi airtime na asefo no. Enti ababeduru haya, I think President Mahama followed through the constitution, onyam breach any provision, and I challenge any lawyer out there to point to a single constitutional infraction I occasion that far the process was activated. I challenge any of them, apart from those singing the emotional hymns, that can continue to sing. But if anybody, our legitimate grounds, I actually say, President Mahama and the process now activated that far, no breaching any constitutional provision. They should come forward with it. And then it's not as if that Mahama I'm fighting this whole process. Are you dissatisfied? No. Court no. Or there are some cohort almost 3 occasions. Emma court na catch and Mamina grown I didn't know how. You're born in something to a good. Ama Justice Amadou, your friend saying Tanko, the ruling back it was very interesting. Justice near worried about the fact to say Omoan Caso Chief Justice accuse you almost they cannot be. One day I'll bring you the ruling. On why your word say Omoan Caso Chief Justice accuse you almost they cannot be fair. they are worried about the fact that Omo Ankasa Omo Chief Justice can't say a constitutional provision should be waived. Now I didn't go TV so because other way so we see law school them that you know say no court so not even the Supreme Court and a bit because it is an explicit constitutional provision locked in the Constitution. You need to do a constitutional change and a review and so what to me as a and this all the obedience court say yama adenoma TV so then her understanding of the law no is a bit twisted and I say emotions I take a better part of it because I a constitutional provision. For instance, Emrane say we are president of Ghana, President Mahama will make 2 terms. Constitution is over 2 terms. So yeah, but that's not President Mahama atam court to say Supreme Court to say or no so 3rd term to Supreme Court emanating 3rd term. Is it possible? Can the Supreme Court vary a constitutional provision?
No.
When it is explicit, it's not an implicit something that you need to struggle to read, to put interpretation. This is clear in the face of it. Osha say that. Can President Mahama go to Supreme Court and tell them say, "Yen change it 10 or no"? Can you do that?
You can't.
So if a Chief Justice is saying a constitutional provision should be varied, that is what I'm telling you. Her level of understanding so far as the law is concerned, it's a bit skewed and questionable. So I think that the oye ni drama na oye ni me odigu na nimase. Because I said last time I catch I say your friend say unse se kan mine nam station ya bona suma. But no otiete ma okowura na okowura ni ma bi offer. And that is exactly what happened to her. My catcher said asem sina person when yansa for just wait for a trouble day. How you conduct, compose, react to heavy circumstances and they determine say indeed this person is smart, intelligent or not. As I see you be any nyansa, which you be able to one for a coat na so for that's no. That is when you'll be able to separate the men from women. What I say. So I think the Chief Justice in 7 na acquire by the baby na baby no or no one kasa na braba boy. Awie na aba no because that be abetu amanfo for unya position men nya wadwen say what her forever because say wo nyansani a what na ha afa kwa menkroma and I say the picture cover office that be say oh he fine and the little that you can do it serve people right make sure say when you amanfo menyi nyansa men front nipa kon so na wo na wo sika dan makra nya na to bia na obi adi what I say and me I don't respect people because of your position. I don't respect you because you are a minister. I don't respect you because you are president. I respect you for who you are as a person and how you treat people, your deed.
Yeah.
Me, you can never force me to respect you because you're a minister and you no, I don't do that. I respect you for who you because honorable. No, I'm for the honorable tea. And we don't baby you don't want fool. Yeah. Or your former Afarijan who know anything.
Yeah, it's all you're not fool.
Oh, you're not for Bekum baby. What I say? These are titles. They are temporary. But who you are can never change. You understand?
Sure.
So, let us use the opportunity to tell people, say, wherever you are, treat people good, serve well, and make sure that you leave an indelible image. The idea not on person to say, obey a Chief Justice, yapam no, by yapamo, entitlement, and not Owusu who say, your friend is saying, on resign, and no, and that resign. So those of you saying, say, she can come back as a judge, I'm saying, because somebody who has been flagged for misbehavior.
Yeah.
You see, Chief Justice, being a Chief Justice, and being a Supreme Court judge, people should know so the most important factor being a Supreme Court judge first. Because you need that before you become Chief Justice. The Chief Justice is just an administrative role. It has nothing to do with law. What I say? If it is about behavior, now Obia Memphis says CEO, Wakoto no Wakwachi Akrana or Neneda. You see a Pam as a CEO of a hospital, Uncle Hospital, Hans and Conquer So this is as simple as that. Even the president let the crown or Trump, she has been removed both as a justice of the Supreme Court and as a your friend saying Chief Justice. And for me, yes, she has the right to do whatever. Says in seminar or the still like was the Munyam Frey or to saw and several other cases. She can use all the legitimate constitutional avenues to seek redress if she thinks say and name but from me where I sit, I think say the law was followed to the letter.
Okay.
There hasn't been any attempt of really circumventing any law. There hasn't been any procedural errors on one and in her twisted imaginations and all building those buffers just to buy convenience. Have you seen any serious-minded person out there defending her? Now, say your advocacy group Ukroma, your 10 ton Ukroma, and an amount for apart from some people in the MPP who are guilty of doing the same thing. I'm for some hand my your friend saying, lady, your friend is saying, easy bossy, as a form I do Ukroma say. About this. Everybody is satisfied because for Ghana, the most important thing in this whole discussion is our judiciary. We don't care about any other individual. Now we are fine. We are concerned about saving the integrity, and I'm urging President Mahama to go ahead and prune the judiciary because you see, appointment Akufo-Addo from the High Court and then as a forum no to top no enya de ketwa na ye wi a yan to yanim come magistrate and lower court me say enkwase ruling na man 40 ase ho eye no uhu e bia wo yem be hyew ruling so what tenance now go through some of the lower court now he ruling everywhere ba wo yem be hyew I think that's a country but ayem krasi na hia fo no obi anka o masem mo some of these cases travel to the Supreme Court and Supreme Court about to go because Daniel Ofori ni issue and started, I think, on a Stanbic Bank. And started here. About best, yes, a case that traveled about 17 years ago. Or the force until they do topper. So it tells you the bad job people are doing down there. Your court. Or judge to only boot me for be a court to go to Breu. Condemn 20 years. Then as a for Sans Mununa 40 down. We need to sanitize the judiciary, and the President Mahama has a duty to do that. And you need somebody responsible at the top to do some of these things. And I think that may. Say institution be any save your judiciary now. I'll be satisfied because justice is the most important thing. I guarantee democracy anywhere in the world.
My cultural sister, in any employment environment, if you have a contract, you are working within the contract. Your dismissal hang on 2 sections. One is conduct, and the second is gross misconduct. When you are deemed to have a false and falsified companies' instruments in your favor in terms of the machinery, it is classified as gross misconduct. When your behavior falls below standard, the company policy, you are deemed to have breach behavior. There is process. There's a process in dealing with behavior at work, which is not a summary of dismissal. When you are engaged in gross misconduct, you are bound to be sacked. Nana Konkoni was I'm watching you from New York. God bless you. Nana, because I'm sure the message that was direct to you. All right. Nana Konkoni yedase. My coach was saying nobody is discussing what Ivan is saying, Ghana. Okay, conscious Agbenua Owusu also on my thumbs up. Mark Ochoa say, I'm so surprised at these fake lawyers who were defending the Chief Justice never spoke about what she did. It is a shame. These lawyers who bought their law certificate from Makwala markets should be dismissed. Nelson, as innocent, is a box of knowledge and must be listened to every day. Mark is which was it? Which she is not supposed to do press conference when your case is being held by a committee. Okay, Mateo Brofuna say, see, this lady abused her power so much that she did not even give a damn to Ghanaians. Steve Joe say, "Wamaye, good morning." Eda say, "Osaje for Kwame Nkrumah." Hey, offer dini na. See, Ivan is my man. Right on, bro. The sky is your lab mate. Andy Dorsey was say Ivan more fire. Was say all watching you live. Hey, okay, we are watching you live from Tema site. Matime Dasim. Yanko Akwetia.
Yeah, quick one. Who's when I would can come first,
Yeah.
I sure say you appointed justice to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
You clear lay downs. So and your misbehavior and then your friends incompetence and I said certain mischief underneath and I said beneath it. Why will the whole Chief Justice wake up a day after pen the paper actual nenam fufodin? Somebody kwakoma president say onjina so no appointed a man for to the Supreme Court. For a Chief Justice to be able to sit down, conceive when she knows at the end of the no, it's for her near matter to do that, you know. The what besides was the same person I will to me with the president to have influence when it comes to appointment, transfer of judges and so forth. Cook unim do to me. And I win in this idea no. Because to me transfer pen the paper when she knows the appointment of people to you know president na here through the judicial council consultation and so forth no. But on to me transfer pen the paper bypass.
Yes, I will bypass judicial council bypass will be another nepe.
Say to them no money.
For one year.
Oh no call we get here ba. And you know what Tony did that come president. That person should be deemed very dangerous and cannot be allowed to sit playing Chief Justice. Okay. So those of you making noise out there, maybe you don't understand it. Among for out to politics, you know, that is what you know. Take a dive into the issues, the critical undertones, you know, go through the processes and the procedures. Now, catch the Ghana for say, more now for lawyers, no more TC Chrome as a fuan and as a foyer. But none of them any bit activity and constitutional argument. Just say, ya from memra. Go for Gloria Kufu, at Tenancy, interview, a long one over 15 minutes in Nasefo. She could not cite a single ground. The all kind of say issues no mujina so mo de no shouldn't have your friend saying MBT threshold. Constitutional threshold na ye can no the competence of the petition. Sabeya we insert it into the constitutional provision now and then ye part. You have no right to your friend say give it to appropriate committee of inquiry committee and judges and lawyers can come on. And that they did a proper job. Unless Fayakufu is telling us, Ninuanum judges and all Supreme Court or no year human and send or no retire or one bone. And they were operating under a certain influence of malice, mischief, or partisan your friends say conveniences. Unless that is what she want to say. But you see, some of these things, I respect her or beyond no opinion. Yeah. But opinion now is just like so to fear now so and come back. Ya unim sa enko ba bia obi atene dem kan de besia wie nothing will change it.
Okay, enko akwatia na issues by any election resource. Yeah. One or two. I think security idea top notch.
Yeah.
Apart from say afenyo market ko white priest and kede ntokwa azoka koke kanse hunu wo.
Yes, I think say my IGP ni team abaso. As I dey women tanye ba ba enden. I think say they deserve it because now no many case me interview and I was telling him say election ya ekosi for me the most consequential outcome enya hwan na win it. Now mom kwan be no fa so win it. And for me I was much focused on the security aspect of it. And I think say the police came to the party. They did an excellent job. For the first time I acquired by elections, I anticipate you need that kind of way. So I think that it's a plus. Ghana Police Service need to do more. Yes, I understand that in the main election, won't win 5,000 police and for Monko. So I think they need to devise a certain security framework. And numbers, efficiency. Because election day we have 5,000 for Munko place. Sabe very efficient in this chart. Sabe free and fair elections. And the last time it is Obamokoye wa Blukuma. We na no. Ya convict omo at the 5,000 6,000 to mutiso. Initially me say me hu ya me bufu ye. Because 5,000 6,000 yesika ya dey too much mine so.
Yeah. 5,000 just got too much of my
so. You found in a but ya boka 25,000 so. O slap no ba 70,000 na your friends 100,000 na.
Any other
next time would be so answer. But you see I think the consolation is that something has been done.
Yeah.
Makase your call your friends say ayawa
so and the two could have been muma obi adane.
Committee report actually useless. Commission report your court chima you ku nipa be sin there main election. So if something has been done and there I think there is a consolation your call and I'm urging President Mahama say on taking more stringent measures to ensure say electoral violence in Nasifo no yen nepe no not going forward and nothing happens. Yeah, MPP in your party why not just obesua there? And my culture said they are still sitting on high horses. So election way, I made a prediction, say I'll put my bet on the NDC. Because there was no way the MPP was going to win this election. And it was quite obvious. Because say we are a party. Now what na buy mu for 8 good years. Now want to me anyam puntu dwuma anya the papa to the stand say 8 years no eso ye no. Wo de animguase ne kofie. Wo de the most humiliating defeat in our electoral history and the kofie. Na say back I go to a constituency omonto abama when somebody is already president. Yeah, it will take hell to convince people because NBC nyanya hwe ewo your friend saying akwatia kra na there is hope say omo ban the was and aban you betimi convince na mana bibia mayen. So when you are going into a contest like this, you should know clearly say you have no chance. And again, party ni lose power no. Kwan be na ya faso a ya rebrand ye ho a e Ghana for who say oh MPP foforo die ensesan ya ba nothing. We catch you say so wo twi car na wo kote to gatam. Na se yi car no free gatam a unless we abodani e na abatam car no from gatam at the Kosi station pare Kumasi o obi obehu say wo yes ade be behu say wo abodam because a car to gatam first one you take it to the mechanic, you wash it before you take it. MPP free gatam no ya tama base station say am for mefro from the gutters now right to station because they have decided that they will not work on the party because there is this your friend say delusion of grandeur. Ocean psychiatry delusion of grandeur. They are sitting on the moon. See adibia you okay mom, still the party is okay. They don't need the party is in tatters because McCarthy say lose election now. You try to do reorganization. That reorganization, you know, from the base, we try to connect. But we almost started your presidential election. Presidential election, and one seminar as for at the ground, what failed to build a party. So party now, party ben, what they call winning elections. When I would they call conventional. Especially the current leadership of the party have demonstrated nothing but gross incompetence. They don't even know their left from their right. These are people whose innate understanding of politics. And they say, Yankasa bugu like Yankasa boom. Utie Abrantie and Nabin and Anumete say, or your interview, you say, NBC for by ye nasan or buy no, or one question no, just say funny, nasty kind of way, no, or monam some way. Dr. Baumia Koho. The message in say Abrantie no wuye no eyen this for na harassing no mani wuye ento omonto abama MPP emere we ya womin ukoye sa enkwara politics we ya because this for na harassing in what sense ye do obi court harassment and the Prez Mahama in 2012 to court for almost 8 months and no harassing no and senka bibi to Mahama then and kono na ku na asasan sa enkwara same way it doesn't fly. You understand? Go there, tell the people this is my message. So if you waste all the time to talk about nonsense, trivialities, this your friends say advertising this your friends say bravado and people will not take you serious because they want development. And the young people in this country are wide awakened and very enlightened. So we tell Musa Dankwa the way no man for Ekasana. They say they want development. The 1990 Abrantie no you know and who Mabontino and Sansem Hunu sa emotional we do need space in our politics. So yes, yes, sympathizing with the family. Then as a forum, but Ghana must continue, development must continue. People might want to vote for somebody who bring them development. So go there, your chest out, tell people, convince them. Now, Fena, or mobile yena someone tuntum. Your friend is saying, I branch no woo, and this is for the pressure and money woo, and your friend is saying, yeah, the Tamale Santra, Mamo, most mum fuck with their politics at nay. You understand? So I'm saying, sir, the MPP is a lesson. They are not growing. And among for mature in politics, they are rather retrogressing at a lightning speed. They are growing back. And these are people who are still stuck in 12th century thinking, say, Ghana ni no onim ni 1990 no. Sa Ghana ni na.
Oh no, I wouldn't see a
yeah. Unza tete no, o da sori kikasie ma. Oh, me na na ayo sono. Oh, me papa ayo sono. Ye de ya asantefo, ye de angonafo, ye de sa ansem hunu. That your friends are unreasonable party alliances affiliation, you know. That era is gone. Our man for are looking at the future. Or more head the bit be more how development beba. So who begin to harp on those things? Oh yeah, they say will not win you anything. So I think that they need to go back to the drawing board as a party. And unfortunately for them, they are not lucky. Ko council of elders no betu party ni fo no minim say omo ye nkora wo ye mpanimfo because nema mo de babo ntin bia no asa bia fa kwam council of elders no council of elders
I omo ye mpanimfo
na make no I wonder because panyini bia no be make this decision yeah what panyino and what ko yika Africa tam o se yam fanko station kofa amanfo because next week ye sika car na station for 24 hours obi amfro ye wo ye panyini nyansa ni when you know say you need to build a party. So for me, I think that Niamano Moya no emfa kwemu. And the last time I catch Council of Elders Ben Atena Krum ha. What follow Ghana politics since 1992. Now who be the way Kennedy Japan Brian Champon mo behave Kruma. Now but now vetting committee and can say, oh my passimo, Monko for vetting Monko president, the Council of Elders, now graduating in the dirty Mabaya way, cannot correct. Council of Elders. Behavior way our person will rebuild the party. Now, what me passing Krofo we say, or my pass vetting. When a near more my yen will chrome hangina, Uzumi ina. Ubisa say, yes, they may qualify. But party no picture Ben will paint it to people out there. Because in the first place, what lose connection, what lose integrity, people don't respect you. You are trying to rebrand yourself. When I will do a mobile, so bet me convince Obi or Yansani out there say, oh, Ivan say the MPP a different MPP, so vote for them. These are some of the things that we see in some way they are very harsh, very tough. Obi and Kanchero.
Yeah.
But no, we will tell you in the face. You understand? So I think that because of money, you know, and the Council of Elders as well, you know, compromise because no be have been in deliberate or call retirement or head or debate the well, that is what they are doing. So they are not thinking about the core party principle. Because the MPP that I know, they're party in the The MPP that I know, no party a boss or party of intellectuals, party of this, party of this, party of this, and then your friends I'm ranting your mona kasa boom boom or radio TVC. And spy or more deviate. So they need to sit down, no maintenance where them because I can't just say what is about thing wa now say we nim baby a wo kwa obetimi anante 40 days unruda. Oh yes.
Innocent.
Yes. What is about thing we nim baby a wo kwa you can work for 40 days unru.
Oh God.
But we nim baby a wo kwa even 30 minutes cry will be no and that's even 1 minute cry no we nim baby a wo kwa. The MP omuni baby omoko.
So I'm better than
Oh. And I think that until some be realize this. No matena sia gin sama ye kan yatum. Kon sama mekan. Anya me kwa na mekan.
Yeah.
Nya hota makura babo ntin na no dem da bia saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Papa we kwa me mpianim. O say onim direction party no ko. So these are not my words. Your fellow President Kufuor or say everything because they don't tell him anything. They don't involve him in anything. So a man 40 and a take a decision and crowd decisions. I said, what's an answer? Say, because now no, you may know any solo to say, yeah, almost a man for amnesty. So I'm Alan, remember back. Yama Obia, what the bonnet, as our punishment. And whether you committee or punishment into Sambra, the amount amnesty, Alan Bonnet or yeah, and the amnesty by now with the man or no
party night a bonnet.
Into Obia or no, so I know Bonnet, why is it an honorable woman amnesty? So say, and Crania man or more, and I'm worried. Because you see, I don't want a situation where opposition party will be weakened. Yeah. Because Ghana it doesn't matter, say NDC. So if Nipa Desani enjoy absolute power and say so we need to have a responsible opposition party. I am very constructive, very critical. You're competent enough to also win election to form a government. And that is what the MPP need to reconstitute itself into. But baby, I'm one in the media, yeah, and I'm a kind of winning baby or more into a man and because I'm Ben and Tiacha because they don't who said, your friend saying, I'm winning because I owe her party leadership from top. General Secretary, Kasa Crown, and to Kasa, a party chairman, yes, why your friend say a youth organizer back, Kasa boom, boom, boom. Well, just why no wine a veteran some bar. I'm on for behind a new table no and any panel what to say Nipa way there when it turned him. Yen and Samba, a 70 and more can. There is this one particular person sitting on the table when you born any maybe a summer shop want to make. I never be Owusu, a fair review woman. But a Kodruba Bina, or two Nipanina, and we just had near my way. Obia tend to behave the way thank you to no who dey kokosi here. That is why they stop it.
I must stop it. Anim guasia kura o. They
couldn't do a thank you to. And can you go to a Kwetia and win an election?
No.
Because party na your machine now what they call is in disarray. A bad shape. And today now what they call when and Tina na catch us they attempt this psychological blackmail when they told NDC say oh yeah withdraw from your friends at Tamale Central withdraw from way and crossem way. Yeah, the democracy and crossem way the politics. Because elections now walk on, you don't only go there to lose. What lose power? Go there and test the pulse and see your real bit to reorganize. You know, you are able to gauge your popularity level with some of these elections. No one who say MPP now you call you know. Say crowd I want for a year to and as a name say enti nye name ye. Now I go kasa kwan on fa so mu ye na adabonsu na me no mo. Wuro mu ye no sad but sad happen obi oya wu ye no obi a oya ni the same thing but you are operating on a constitutional line no you don't do these things nipa mu ye nyina we all cried bebo Mahama and NDC omo aban bu kra no ensun kase no they are out there contesting now what in chan I am far hono was it wo no mu ye no circumstance NDC na ye the party no omo the nipa the wu ye no so contest akwati I contest we wo na what in chan am far hono say I'm quoting them the circumstances and wu ye no inhuman intino are you serious as a political party obviously NDC boycott on boycott to ejuso no it was very strategic and very tactical because omo can tell us say election here close to national elections resources na yede beya is resources not emotional say you can say they call your friends say ejuso you seek assembly na say for enti sa sika no you dey can national wine no ho na you dey going to national election you dey give more seats Ashanti region mo how many seats so strategically enti makata say am emotions in your politics when you so wadwene when you so nyansa na wotisi abonte say wo say wo kɔ na woni ba bia wo kɔ
40 days kra na da so ne na masase no so yeah time na so but we dey manage na for just 1 minute ka GF die no wetin say o ma slash no over $700,000
bars for fuel fuel for bars
yes
me say omo GFA has for long acted as some sort of a criminal cartel. Yem fire nim ko hunti no a pure gold mine for some individuals. Because I have budget now. And your friends say me who way how do you call it sports minister.
Yeah.
And I think that he has done well.
Sure. By
slashing this thing by Kamea and can slash even more. Because I don't understand the coach if you had $50,000 every month should be paid 20,000 bonus for what?
For the heading.
And the Juma no you know ya confirm so me eden o me to sin and so me penti cars. Cause we you hire as a coach and I'm saying how many people they take $50,000? Oh, so we are talking about a country called Northern region now near Manfo go through Kokumasi we take Kejetia and Kramayo akrashe na chia also we enyuruba juna 200 Ghana na odi kofie. Mazo omudi team na chi no yesi amobia $8,000 for one match omokwa chadaba one match 8,000 close to over 800 million for just a day teacher ni betena kurase a kira there for 40 years ombekono na ade otimi to on life in a bicycle and no kwa retirement ro pie
no tua nyeye
opie nyeye ne ba na betwi. These are the harsh realities. So the black star have for long, been used as a cash cow by some people, but government over the years, they haven't been bold enough to take them by the balls. And I'm happy Kofi Adam has started this way. And for me, this is not enough. Okay. He has to go extra. Sebebe make sure say me footballers no mujina park is you omoka me no be any issue. Now for football management committee members sebi, ball no mumbobi. But we are they don't even need to follow them.
Yeah.
But we are paying them $10,000 for what? We are demonstrating that Sikanu go enim the other year. So why are they say what me slash over about 1 million a free so? Now I think that young go back to the past. World Cup qualify be a yabobia. Obia or your management member you try to cut 10,000 mazo I man 8,000. These people the young kwa just as Sikanu and some prosecutor among come because omunyina ya krom for. We cannot continue to be entertaining this nonsense where people hide behind the black star. Football now here cannot. Look at House of Folk. Look at Kotoko, Nina Ogu, and this our team's in a dime baller team, and Nina because of Ghana football. Because attention Nina is on the Black Stars because I don't know Musika. Now we are mine out to know win and sell who said, or mine football be a house at Diana Kotoko, or mine a ye. Now he pay everything on the Black Stars, and Yansa be the whole team. I think we need to drive the focus back to our team. The teams near ya. Automatically we get a national team. And you're not football, Druana, you're Ghana, Nibu, or Belgium, you're going to tournaments, you know, World Cup now, Brazil, Kono. Do you know why they go to World Cup? They go to World Cup to advertise to the world, say, so over Brazil, football, and a natural, over there are thousands of talent, so you only take few to go to the West stage to advertise talent so that people will come. And Spain for Brazil top player 100 million. UK for top player $50 million. Because they've done advertisement over the years. That is what we are supposed to use the national team to do. But Oba has a Titiagu, has Yagu, Kotokwagu, teams in Inagu. And if you go to tournament, I'm not advertising. Play and I own Germany, walk up on the child, and I wouldn't advertise. We are jokers, we don't even know what we are doing. So for me, the Black Stars, I think government have to be very extra harsh on them and make sure say yes, we can pay the players, but these jokers and criminals who are circling around the club making money, we need to begin prosecuting all of them because most of them are criminals.
Thank you very much.